Welcome everybody to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge Round 2 race weekend. The first set of races will showcase the best races from Europe, Middle East and Africa, followed by Asia Pacific later on in the evening. I'm John Sargent, and joining me today for tonight's marathon broadcast is Luke Crane. Luke, welcome to the show. As always, it's wonderful to be back on camera with you. How is everything and how excited are you for tonight?
Well, firstly, I can't really think how we've got to this part. It feels like just yesterday we were doing the monthly finals for month number 1. Crazy how time flies. But yeah, some of the names in this championship today are absolutely incredible. It almost feels like round 1 served as like an advertisement and now everybody is involved. This is going to be a brilliant weekend racing.
Which means, of course, we're going to get some new drivers and hopefully a lot of new people tuning in tonight as well. So if this is your first time tuning into the Logitech McLaren G Challenge and you're wondering what this weekend's broadcast is actually all about, look no further. This video will explain everything you need to know on how to race, how to get involved, and how you can potentially get a chance at winning some of these money can't buy grand prizes. Oh, and the voiceover guy's pretty good too. Check this out. Attention racing enthusiasts, the wait is over. So sit down, strap in, and start your engines. This is the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. This video will explain everything you need to know on how to race your way into the grand finals. First, let's break down the basics. There are 4 regions: North America, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. That's over. Look, I honestly wanted to explain all of that to you in pre-recorded format, but quite clearly the gods of Twitch have decided that's not going to happen today, Luke. But fortunately, we've just about committed the format of the entire tournament for Logitech G to memory. It's been drilled into our brains over the last 6 months.
I didn't sabotage it, John. I did not just because you're on the voiceover, I did not sabotage it. I just want to get out there.
Maybe there's a version we're going to be playing next with Luke Crane voicing over and it's going to be absolutely fine. But in short, the top 30 drivers who have had the fastest qualifying times were invited to the monthly round races across 3 different disciplines. We've got stock car, we've got open wheel, and we've got sports car. So we are going to be watching up to 90 different drivers this evening, and that's per region as well. We've got EMEA first, then we're going to be moving on to APAC later tonight, Luke. So today we've got, I can do quick maths, basically up to 180 drivers, and then tomorrow exactly the same thing for both North America and Latin America.
There's some also very specially talented drivers that are actually racing across more than one discipline. But if you are new to this racing, or maybe a lot of you are going to be watching going, yeah, we know what's going on. It's pretty simple. But if you are new, indeed, this is all going to be fresh. As it's going to work out today, we've got qualifying sessions before each race. That will indeed decide who is going to be at the front of the grid, who's going to be at the back. For the stock car, it's only 5 minutes. And indeed, for the open wheel, it's 10 minutes. The difference between iRacing and ACC is that iRacing, you'll see all of the cars on their own. They've got their pretty much their own session to qualify from. But on ACC, They're all going to be out on circuit together. Players are all awarded points on where they finish in the race, and that is a narrative throughout the whole competition. So not only do the top 3 qualify, but there's also wild cards for the most points scored. But it is all about the top 3, really, John. The top 3 today automatically book their place in the semi-finals. They got nothing to worry about, and they are golden.
Exactly right. Top 3, very, very important to make it through to the next round, although it's not the be-all and end-all. Let's take a look at today's schedule, because today's racing is going to take place on 3 different tracks and feature 3 different styles of racing as well. The first race will be our stock car race on the Indianapolis Oval. The second race is the open wheel race on Suzuka, my personal favorite. And the last race is going to be the sports car race on Kyalami. So quite a lot to pack in, and I'm really looking forward to it. But who's going to be racing? Let's take a look. Over the last month, hundreds of racers tried to qualify for their chance to be featured on today's broadcast, but only 90 have made it onto today's show, and you'll get to see some familiar names on all 3 of our screens. We're going to start with the stock car. Luke, who are some of the names we want to be watching out for here?
Oh boy, buckle in. We have got already qualified drivers Joel Blewett and Dominic Lukomski, who indeed raced last time out. So they've already qualified for their semi-finals, but there's no better place than to keep an eye on your potential rivals than on the track with them in month number 2. So they've qualified, they should be in the races today. Definitely need to look out for Nicolo Sidrati, back for the 2nd month in a row after a lot of misfortune in monthly finals number 1. He is actually 3rd seed, so that means he got the 3rd quickest qualifying time coming into today. The favourite, though, will be Adam Illman. He comes into the finals for the second time in a row. He finished 11th last time out, but this time he comes in as number 1 seed from qualification this month, and he's got a point to prove. But as month 1, this is absolutely wide open for sure. Adam actually did produce a 51.722 for that top spot. We head then to the open wheel, and Graham Carroll is the only re-qualified driver from the last month in terms of the 3 drivers that are through to the semi-finals. But he will not be racing. He's using these qualifiers just to keep his eye in effectively, which is absolutely fair enough. Arguably the fastest driver in iRacing within this car, the Dallara 01, he's actually qualified for the Pro Series, is Martin van Luzenoord. He is a racer for Romain Grosjean's R8G racing team, and also an outsider, a teammate of his, Kevin van der Slick. He's friends with Martin, and they've been training together. Those two are very, very quick drivers indeed. We've also got Bo Dixon of Distinct Esports. He's back for his second month, along with Daniel Sedgley, both very good all-rounders and come from a Project Cars 2 background. So we've seen them in previous years within this championship. This is really a battle of the Hungarians versus the Brits, nearly making up 50% of the qualified drivers today. It's always a Hungarian for sure. Martin produced a 129.560 to take number 1 seed, ahead of 2 Hungarians, Tamás Simon and Peter Zuber. So keep an eye out for all 3 of those names heading into the sports then. And well, you could just see by the list of names on your screen how ridiculously stacked this field is. But the only re-qualified driver to make it back for this month is indeed Wolf. He is already qualified for the semi-finals, but he is indeed here. He's second seed. Teammate Brandon Abraham, who we will hear from later on in today's broadcast as well. He is last year's EMEA champion, so he's indeed got a point to prove himself. This field boasts some unreal talent as well, and worthy really of a final itself, with names such as Chris McDade, last year's EMEA runner-up, and his teammate Johnny Knight. We also have King of the Mountain this week in the ACR Earth Tour. We had Tinker van der Velde won a 90-minute race at Bathurst, and he is in top form, beating drivers such as Jardier, beating drivers such as Malinowski as well. Kevin Siklari then last month out, he was indeed the receiving end of George Bouvy's wonder overtake, which is still overtake of the championship and may well be for the whole entire championship. He'll be looking for vengeance this time. He finished just shy of the top 3. He was 4th last time out. And then an honourable mention for Sam Bagnall. Recently from PlayStation 4, he's just making the transition into PC, and he is taking the ACC PC community by storm. But then we've got to mention number 1 seed, not mention him yet. Jordan Sherritt takes the number 1 seed. He produced a 140.287. It is home soil for him. He's representing the Sappers. We're at Kyle Army in South Africa. John, this is going to be special.
It really is, and I'm looking forward to all 3 races, and I have to say, you showed incredible restraint, Luke. Not to mention, of course, that you were qualified in the top 30 yourself. You've done a tremendous job. It's a pity we can't watch you driving around with the best of these guys, but I look forward to maybe watching some of your streams later on and hopefully showing that you could have comfortably qualified for the grand finals later on in the year. But we want to remind you guys, we're collecting tweets from you throughout this challenge using the hashtag Logitech G Challenge on social media. So send us questions and let us know who you're cheering for as well on Twitter. Let us know what you think, and we might be reading out some of your tweets later on in the show.
Can you imagine if I had qualified and did commentary from the car? Like, my commentary is at best average, let alone being in the car as well.
It's different if you're driving, though, isn't it? You've got the point of view of, my car was definitely in front when I smashed into him.
For sure. Anyway, so the actual drivers that are in this race here today. We're here with a stock car then first and foremost, and as you can see then, we are at Indianapolis, again, one of the most famed circuits in the world of motorsport. It's the holder of the Indy 500. I was there in 2019, and it just, when you enter this arena, when you enter this track, you can just feel the atmosphere. I was there at 5 o'clock in the morning just so I could go and kiss the bricks, and I could just feel the aura of the place. It was quite ridiculous, actually, as we're on board then with Cedrati, who does have a point to prove this time out. He indeed did have a chance to qualify last time, but wasn't quite at the races. But today, this is the beauty of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. You get yourself another opportunity if you so wish. You've got 5 months to get yourself into the semi-finals. So again, go to logitechgchallenge.com and try and get yourself qualified, as it is indeed Cedrati who does take the ascendancy here then, at 51.876. And as you can see here, John, this isn't going to be the best lap ultimately. They're just trying to dip their left wheels underneath that white line. High risk, high reward. But ultimately, you've got to be nice and smooth, and you've got to take the shortest route around the circuit.
We're currently seeing some of that high reward. Maybe we'll get to see a little bit of the high risk later on. We'll have to wait and see if drivers end up making a mistake. Indianapolis, Luke, it's... on the surface, it does look a little bit like, oh, it's a fairly standard oval. But when it comes to the technical aspects of getting your car around this track, it's actually significantly trickier than most people give it credit for.
Yeah, it's completely different to what we had last time out. So in terms of the camber of the corners. And what I mean by camber is I mean the gradient of the banking. As you can see right now, the corner just raises up as they get closer to the wall for each corner. But it's not as high as what we saw at Charlotte, and also they'll be going a little bit slower through the corners as well, and maybe having to let off as the tires do indeed wear out, which we saw last time. The tires are a huge factor within iRacing, as we know. So the last 5 minutes, make sure you watch out for them. But it's turn 2. Turn 2 really is the key corner, and turn 4. If you get it wrong out of turn 2, we just saw there, you can indeed clatter it into the wall. You lose so much momentum, and you're basically a sitting duck. And also onto the start-finish straight, if you clatter into the wall on turn 4, because there's just like a little raised bump on the exit, and you've just got to basically got to oversteer ever so slightly. So you're taking more angle than the corner is, just to make sure that you're not slamming into the wall. So what you'll see on the exit of corners is they'll be making a nice movement out close to the wall, then they'll slightly move left towards the middle of the circuit, and then they'll go back closer to the wall there, just to indeed protect themselves from going into the wall. But also you're going to see, wow, potentially 2, potentially 3 wide. This is a lot more difficult to run 2 or 3 wide than what we had last out at Charlotte Motor Speedway. But indeed, we've got such a close field here. I expect to be seeing that kind of racing. Matteo Bortolotti, by the way, is second. Terry Despoir is in 3rd position as it stands. It looks like 18 drivers have got a time in. And your favourite driver then, Urpo Jalapa, is currently in 18th
So good they named him
position.
twice. Absolutely. Urpo Jalapa 2 currently in 18th, but I don't know if they'll... Well, actually, having set a time, I'm not sure there'll be an opportunity to improve that, but you can just see how unbelievably close all of these times are. The top 15 within the same second of each other here, Luke. So in a race around an oval like this, I'm guessing a qualifying session doesn't necessarily mean everything, because racecraft can actually make up a decent number of positions throughout the course of the 20 minutes.
Yes and no. You want to be at the front. This is not,
of course,
it's not as easy to overtake around here as it would be at, say, Charlotte Motor Speedway, because we saw kind of 2 lanes of racing. It's going to be very difficult for people to be able to maintain that for a 20-minute race distance, whereas a circuit such as maybe Daytona, a circuit such as what we saw at Charlotte, they can get away with that. They can run 2 wide for the entirety. It's going to become very difficult for that to happen here, just because of the nature of the corners. Again, it's like a rectangular oval here, which is a little bit different to what we saw last time out. But here it is, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Track temperature is not the highest today as well, which is going to be very favorable in terms of tire wear throughout the 20-minute race here. And cloudy conditions as well. And well, as you can see there, there's just our names at the bottom as well, John.
Oh, how lovely. And I'm glad that we have a 3.22 kilometers per hour. Nice, mild, gentle breeze. For those of you wondering, when we were lining up in rehearsals, I think it was something like 303 miles an hour, which apparently... Well, let's just say that's not conducive to oval racing, but we haven't got anything like that today. So now that we have familiarized ourselves with the conditions, let's go ahead and take a look at the grid and who we should keep an eye on in the race.
Well,
30 cars.
Oh, we do have a grid, so there we go.
There we go.
We've got ourselves Cedrati then in P1, Bortolotti P2, Despoir is in 3rd spot, and well, we're only going to need the top 3 there as it stands, because the top 3 are the ones that are going to qualify. There we go, back on screen once again then. Vincent Bilaldo is in 4th position. We've got Flo Martin, and then we've got Antoine Marc. We have then got Mai Frowley. That is a strange old name. Marco Iafaldano is in 8th position. We've got then Cedric Collot, and then we have got Nimrod Denemer Perle as your top 10.
Moving into 11 through 20th, Dave Stedman is going to line up on row 6 alongside Federico Navia. We then have Jonathan Guyennon and Henrik Baylor, or Henrik Baylor too. Maybe there's a second one of him later down in the order. Fane Sensi in 15th with Duncan Stewart alongside him. And then we have Ivan Kashkin and Urpo Jalapa, 17th and 18th. So all to race for here, moving into our 20-minute race to determine who makes it through to the semifinals.
Absolutely. It's going to be exciting here. They've got one full formation lap, so you'll see the pace car take them around for the formation lap. And then we are good to go for some racing action. Also, a change to this week. You can see that they've all got different coloured liveries. There will be a couple of duplications, but for the most part, they've got a different colour on the car now. And it actually is represented next to their name as well. So for you people at home, it is a little bit easier for you to follow. So again, it's very difficult last time with every car pretty much looking exactly the same. But this should be a little bit easier here today. We're at Indianapolis. We're at the home of racing, John. I am super excited for this one.
Really, really good fun. You visited the circuit a lot more recently than I have, Luke. I think I was back there in maybe 2010, 2011. But just, you're right, walking out onto the track and just seeing the yard of bricks and being able to touch it, it's a different experience. Even if I'm not stock car racing, but you can appreciate the history and the tradition that this circuit just screams to all who get a glimpse of her. It's fantastic.
Yeah, what people might not know as well is the bricks don't just extend across the track. So they go all the way on the infield and they go all the way through towards a golf course, actually, on the inside of the circuit, which is, yeah, it runs for a hell of a long way, actually.
It's horrible for your putting game.
Yeah, terrible for your putting game, of course. But you're also, if you're hoping for a bounce off the fairway off of one of those as well, just to get a few extra yards. Here we go, though. It's formation time as they come around. Quite a long circuit here. Yeah, it should be an interesting race to say the very least. Again, keep an eye out for Nicolo Cedrati. He's on the left-hand side there. He is your pole sitter. Once the pace car comes in, it'll be up to him when he goes. And for me, I would imagine he'll go as late as possible. Try and get as close to turn one as he possibly can. Again, no one can make any moves behind them. Unless your name's ASAP Ferg, you can do whatever you want in these cars. But yeah, everyone else has to indeed go by the rules.
Oh, good memories from the Pro-Am event. I'm looking forward to the next one already, Luke. But this is serious business here. We want to see if it's possible for Nicolo Cedrati to be able to complete a lights the flag victory. Very difficult when you don't have another car to follow, but at the end of the day, starting at the front, certainly somewhere you want to be at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, also, watch out for people trying to bump draft each other. Bump drafting is where a car from behind is using the slipstream. They're going a little bit faster, and they will square up onto the rear of the car in front just to push them along. Instead of making an overtake, they'll work together to push along and try and get a bit further up the road down maybe the lane on the outside or a couple of cars in a group behind. So be careful of that, and that is where mistakes can indeed happen as well. Not necessarily your own fault. You see there's 3 or 4 cars in the background who've just decided, you know what, there's going to be a mess here, so I am not going to be getting involved in that. Cedrati has gone. Here we go. It is race time here at Indianapolis. It is the Logitech McLaren G Challenge Monthly Finals 2. And well, we are green light racing. Great start then off the bat here for Cedrati as he heads then through one. Now in towards turn number 2 again. Very tight on exit here. You've got a big bump on the outside of the curb, especially with cold tyres. You've got to be really, really careful. But I tell you what, he has got a phenomenal start right now, John.
Cedrati just managed to get a little bit of a jump on the cars behind, maybe catching a 10th or 2 for free at the start of the race, which is all important if you're trying to avoid some close contact early on. And I have to say, the entire field, Luke, looks pretty well behaved. No big dramas on lap number 1. And Cedrati there, reasonably comfortable. But now, I guess, the question to be asked, if you've got no one to draft behind out in the lead, is it a favorable position to be in? What must be going through Cedrati's head right now to maintain that lead?
Yeah, again, it's a little bit easier to be in the lead of a race around a circuit such as Indianapolis because the turns are a lot tighter than a circuit such as Charlotte Motor Speedway. You can't really make overtakes through the corners. You've got to wait for the straight. Whereas around Charlotte, you can make an overtake at any point, effectively. So yeah, it's very much more favourable to be in the lead. And also, you keep your tyres in check a lot better as well, with no dirty air to worry about in front of you. But also, you can turn in whenever you want. You don't have to worry about losing any downforce to the car. It is definitely it's the most favourable position, regardless of what you're racing, ultimately. But there are just some downsides in most forms of motorsport. But here, yeah, he'll be very much happy to be out in the lead for sure.
It looks like he has a reasonable gap to second. 3rd and 4th, having a little bit of a tussle at the moment, but cars settling comfortably. No big potential overtakes just yet. We'll be waiting for those a little further on. There you can see, I believe that's a car in white, followed by, was that the number 76? I didn't quite catch it, but it's looking like an overtaking maneuver is about to get set up.
Yeah, nearly a move there. Then a little bit squirty. The 145 there, nearly losing complete traction of the car. Another thing to be watching out for here, John, is keeping the tyres in a decent range as well. Because this will be a lot more abrasive in terms of tyre wear than what we saw last time out. But the last 5 minutes of the race, it was just crazy. The people who had kept their tyres in a decent range were gaining maybe half a second a lap. So again, just playing it nice and calm, working with someone else as well, not necessarily trying to push for the positions early, is definitely the more favourable strategy for sure.
Well, especially in turns 2 and 4, where a lot of the mistakes happen in the races. Your tires will degrade. The temperatures, especially if you make I don't know, you make a mistake and you have to correct, or you vastly have a different entry speed one lap, it can make a real difference to those tire temperatures entering those corners, and you just need to misjudge it once. And there's a decent number of laps for you to accidentally get it wrong here while taking degradation into account as well. So even though these cars look like they're doing exactly the same thing, or near enough exactly the same thing lap after lap, the actual conditions that the drivers are experiencing in the cockpit can be varying quite dramatically from the start to the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially with the cloud cover is the biggest factor really here. That will bake the circuit as well. So keep an eye on that. As you can see here, it's a little bit lighter on the circuit right now. So that means the cloud is indeed just moving over. We have indeed dynamic weather here. As there's nearly a little bit of a tag to the wall there for the 76 on the just in behind the 145. And again, I don't think you'll see these two try and swap positions here. There's a long way to go in this race. Fastest lap though for Despoir, who's currently in third spot, is a 52.099, but making a bit of a mistake there and actually getting up onto the high side. This is the opportunity then for P4 to potentially move up into the top 3, although not able to find that gap here. But the front 4 have kind of got away, very similar to what we had in month number 1 in the terms of the finals. It's always sort of 4 cars that went out in the front, and then there was another group of 4 or 5 or 6 behind. We're pretty much seeing exactly the same as last time out.
It's exactly like you were saying earlier on, a minor mistake, but because of these tight corner exits and maybe not quite enough width to do exactly what you want to do to be able to get a nice clean overtake in, it's just not really possible to capitalize on Despoir's mistake, but that's all right. There's plenty of life left in this race. It's nice as well, Luke, to see that the front 4 cars, they're not leaving everyone else for dead. The next bunch of 4, they're probably, what, a second and a half behind? And there is every possibility of that pack rejoining at least the battle for 3rd and 4th a little bit later on in the race as well.
Yeah, for sure. They don't want to get left behind, though. No. You know, you're going to be hoping for an incident if you're more than sort of 1.5 seconds behind. But again, if you can work in a group of 4, then you're going to catch up to a group of 2. So right now, they've got to find solace in the fact that P1 and P2 are gone, but there's P3 and P4 that they can really realistically catch up to. As you can see then, P5 here, the number 49, just running, trying to catch up with them here, and actually is just bridging that gap ever so slightly. They've also got to be very wary of oil temperatures in these cars and not blowing up the engine. So running in behind another car is not ideal. You want to kind of try and get some clean air. But around a circuit such as this, you can just pull out along the big straights here, as we now do see the list of drivers. So it's a 20-lap race here. Cedrati leading the way from Bortolotti. Those two were at the front end anyway. Despoir then is in P3. And that is your top 3 positions here that want to go through, of course. That is a position you need to be in to indeed get through to the next round. We see a potential move then between P6 and P7. And I'm not too sure whether that indeed filtered through. We're on board with Flo Martin, who's just trying to get up towards the top 4.
And Flo Martin's in an interesting position, a little bit further behind P3 and P4, but definitely ahead of the cars in P6 as well. When you don't have someone to draft behind, is it simply a matter of focusing on making sure you understand where the tires are at and just getting a perfect line to squeeze the distance to the car in front? Because I feel like when you have a situation where you haven't got someone to draft behind, but the car in front does, there must be times where you sit in your cockpit and go, damn, they've got an advantage and I don't. How can I reverse this? Flo clearly has absolutely no problem in this situation, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, well, he was luckily within the tow range, so he's all good as they nearly attacked to the wall there. And now having a defensive to Despoir, may be able to just pull away into his P3 position. But they were never really far enough ahead for him to have lost that slipstream. But if you lose it, you're done. If you lose the tow, you're done. It doesn't matter how good or how well you take the lines around the circuit, you're hoping for an incident up ahead. You're hoping for a couple of them being in the wall, unfortunately. And as it stretches out here, the front 2 really are making the very, very best of the start of this race. Cedrati and Bortolotti, if they don't make any mistakes here, then they will be booking their place to the semi-finals. Terry Despoir then currently in 3rd spot. We're on lap number 6. We're nearly heading to the halfway point here, but already we're starting to see some of the cars sliding out with their rears, and the tyres may be starting to go here early.
This is going to get a little bit more dynamic very, very soon. You mentioned the tires going early, Luke. I think some of the drivers are going to be experiencing this now and trying to compensate for it. What might some of the telltale signs be that one of these drivers is really struggling with their tires that doesn't involve them going into the wall? What kind of, are we looking for some twitchiness? Are we looking for people adapting their line? Is there anything that we might be able to see as the viewer before a potential accident happens, which obviously we would rather not happen?
Well, you'll see a car in a wall. That's normally a telltale sign. But yeah, you'll just see the car, like, they'll be tagging the wall on the exit of a corner. The rear will be sliding, so you'll see the car getting nice and squirrely, which is not nice. Obviously, you lose time. But also, you'll see this kind of movement. You'll see a car try and go defensive, try and take the corner a little bit earlier. But unfortunately, that also has the adverse effect, because if you put in more steering input in, you're indeed scrubbing the tyres, and there's a bit of curb usage there. You do not want to be getting on the curbs here, and you almost see the wall being tagged there. That's a mistake. There's a hole at the inside, and there's contact. Number 76 then has just been sent out wide, and I think that the hole was left there. It was an open opportunity. He's then turned down, and ultimately, look at all the momentum he's going to lose. That's his race over here, effectively. The 76 will not be able to close back in, and actually the back marker may have just saved him here, but those two now working together just out in front of him might have just been able to drive away here. But the 76 there got caught out and left the door open up the inside, slipstream down, and unfortunately turned in and has lost so much momentum here and maybe got potential damage to the car.
That looked like a classic case of minor mistake, leaving the door open, but perhaps he didn't realize that someone was already there waiting to pounce. Very, very surprised, maybe when he turned back in and went, hang on a second, there's someone here, and made some light contact with another car. Fortunately, both cars are still racing, so there is opportunity for them both, but sadly for our number 76, it looks like that we're going to be hoping for an incident later on in order to hopefully scramble their way back up the pecking order and put themselves into contention once again.
Well, car 76 clearly did not get the memo of hashtag make your move, because the move was made on him and he just chopped on down, and they're trying to play a little bit of leapfrog here. The straight really isn't that long enough to be making those leapfrog overtakes, but also gaining time. It's very, very unfortunate.
So let's take a look at that moment that the car number 76 unfortunately went down the order a little bit. So this is replay courtesy of Quantum Pay, the future of modern banking. Hashtag make your move, and two different cars here certainly made theirs.
So here we go. They've got the 145 slipstreaming down in towards turn number 1, and you can see that very nice entry there. Very nice entry there for the number 145. The 76 makes a slight mistake. As we come through then the second corner, all is good. Doesn't look too crazy here, but the exit's very, very good. Actually, it looks like that might not be the incident at all there, so I was wondering.
We'll make our move slightly later.
We will. Hashtag it. But now you can see the 76 under a lot of pressure now. Very much unfortunate here. It's, again, race over as the 77 is going to make a move. Dives down inside, slices and dices, and yeah, all that momentum is lost now. But unfortunately for the 77, as soon as he gets ahead here, he would also lose that momentum as well. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. These drivers are a little bit out of the hunt here as a number 3 now coming involved. But it's not all lost. These three could work together now and potentially close up to the leaders. But we haven't really seen anyone try and work together apart from the leaders.
That's right. The front two cars seem to be able to zoom away into the distance, and everyone else seems to be scrapping amongst themselves. So maybe a bit of teamwork here required. Still time to potentially recover in this race, but they do need to start doing that now. The number 3 car looking like they're going to make a move. Goes down the inside. We'll see what the exit looks like, though. Might be an opportunity for 76 to get another look in. We're on lap number 12 out of 20 at the moment, and we are going to try and see the immediate overtake again from the 76. This is more fighting than working together, though, Luke. Both of these drivers must be eating up their tires a bit more than they'd otherwise like.
Oh, yeah, this is great to watch, but it isn't fast. That's for sure. Number 3 and the 76, again, getting together here. 76 is going to have a wild bill at the end of this race. The car, I think. Again, still side by side. The high side then having the grip on the exit as the number 3 continues the momentum and takes the position. But they've just run side by side for the entirety of a lap here. And then the car that was just in front of them isn't just in front of them anymore. Moves on to maybe a second ahead, and also ahead in terms of the slipstream as well. But yeah, great moves there. It was nice racing to watch, but ultimately it wasn't that fast.
And here we see an alternative fight brewing. We've got the number 49 in the 145 car. And 145, I believe, was earlier in the top 5. I'm not 100% sure exactly where now, but these guys are certainly tucked up nose to tail looking for a potential similar move. If they're not careful, they could end up like the fight we just watched, where if you're ending up fighting too much, then both Terry Depois and Jeremy Frowley are going to suffer. You see the cars in front of them and the cars behind them start gaining time on both. So if you're going to make a move, make it once, make it decisive, but work together really so that both of you could be a bit faster.
Yeah, top 3 is perfect for them. If they continue to battle in behind them, the top 3 are just going to make their way forward in this race, move on to the semi-finals, and they are golden. So Flo Martin then currently 5.7 seconds ahead of this gap, ahead of this battle. It's almost done and dusted here. There's not long to go in this race at all. The front 2, I would imagine, are still pretty close. Cedrati and Bortolotti, and then Flo Martin being in P3. So as it stands, those are going to be your 3 that qualify. We said that they would be right up there in terms of Cedrati for sure. But yeah, he's just gone up there and done what he needed to do. Everyone else has just kind of cost each other the chance of going through just because they're battling, which is, again, fun for us to watch, John, but it's not the fastest way around circuit. But I'm sure a lot of these drivers will be back anyway.
I think that's a very good reason to say that even if you don't have someone to draft off of, it's an excellent excuse to say, I'm going to qualify in the front of the race and not have to worry about what's going on behind me. And that's exactly what Nicolo Cedrati is currently doing in this race on lap number 15 out of 20. In fact, he's pretty much all out on his lonesome at the moment. It was a leading pack of 2 before, but Nicolo driving a lonely race, but a very successful one.
Yeah, again, he had a lot of misfortune last time out. Like, he wasn't overly... Like, he was one of the quicker drivers, but just got involved with things that weren't much fun for him in terms of getting damage. But this time, just knuckled down. I've not seen him complain once in the Discord or anything like that. He's just got on with it. He's moved on to week or month 2, should I say. And he's just looked very, very quick indeed. And yeah, Walsh, I think, who qualified last time out as the winner. He's got someone to watch out for here in Cedrati. I think he had someone to watch out for last time out. But this time just reaffirms that, if I'm completely honest.
That's how we measure driver speed, by the way. Complaints in Discord. It's a multiplier that directly affects their speed in the race.
That is true. No, yeah, but sim races love and moan.
There is something to be said, though, for just quietly getting on with it. And I have a lot of respect. I've got a lot of time for that. And Nicolo Cedrati really showing us how that's done today. Absolutely silky smooth.
Yeah, he finished P6 last time out. He had 28 points. Moving into this, of course, if he never got a top 3 during the next 5 months, then he wouldn't qualify that way. But in terms of getting points each and every month, he was doing a good enough job. He got 28 last time by finishing P6. Terry Despoir, who is in this race as well right now, he had 30 from last week. He finished top 5. And IFL Dana, who's also in this race, he got 32 points. He was in the top 4 last time out. Again, not quite in that top 3. But Matteo Bortolotti actually was in P9 last time on 22 points for the championship season. But ultimately, it's not going to matter. He's going to punch his ticket as it stands here. He is P2, but it looks like he may have suffered some damage here, John, because now we've got P3 and P4 behind, a couple of laps to go, and all of a sudden, there is a bit of a frantic rush for those 2 positions.
And this is very interesting as well, because at the end of the day, Bortolotti can afford to lose a position and still qualify directly through to the semi-finals, but you don't want to let both of these cars in, and Flo Martin is closing up on Bortolotti at a pretty quick pace. So I am inclined to agree with you. I think this must be something to do with damage. He was right up there with Nicolo earlier on, and he's just dropped back. And now he's within the clutches of both 3rd and 4th place. He can afford 1 mistake, but not 2.
Hold on. I think there might be a problem here for the leader. Is that Cedrati up ahead? Has he tagged the wall big time here? Or is that a back marker? Again, it was a red car at the front here, but it might be a back marker, actually.
Is it? Yeah, because
right,
777 is the lead car.
They've got the same colour livery. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's going crazy right now. Alexa, stop. Thank you. She's just turned on as well. Things are going nuts. But right now, it's all about Flo Martin. Can he potentially get up into P2, have a little bit of breathing room? Are we going to see Bortolotti potentially lose out? Cedrati, he's golden. He's going to go through. Don't worry about him. P1, good stuff. Yeah, it is close. The group behind, we can see them very, very close indeed here. Looks like we may have, I guess, as they come across the lane, maybe 2 laps to go. I'm completely lost as to what's going on right now. But we're around the final corner. Cedrati then, it's looking pretty golden here. I'm pretty sure we've got maybe 1 more.
I think this is going to be the final lap now. If we were on 18 before, we've just completed lap 19. I'm expecting 1 last lap. And Cedrati at the moment looking good. Still room, of course, to make a mistake. So make sure you don't keep your eye... Well, make sure you don't take your eye off the ball. You definitely want to keep your eye on it. And you can
We want to be looking at P2, P3,
wiggle.
P4, to be honest. I hate to jump over here. P1's looking pretty golden here. There we go. Nice stuff there. So Cedrati's looking golden to go through here. Bortolotti then is very close to holding on to this P2. He's got Flo Martin just in behind. Flo Martin pushing and pushing and pushing, nearly tagging the wall then through turn number 2. Bortolotti's got 2 corners to hang on. He lost the slipstream from the leader and ultimately has been struggling ever since. P3 and P4 then have made their way up towards P2. I tell you what, he's got to run here. Flo Martin's got to run. It's a very tight turn 4, so you've got to absolutely maximize your exit speed here. And wow, he's taking chances though. Is Bortolotti not getting the best line there through at all? Luckily, I think he's got enough breathing room to work with. Cedrati is going to go through. It looks like Bortolotti is just about going to hang on. And it's going to be Flo Martin that takes that P3.
Matteo Bortolotti saved by the bell there and will hang on in P2. Flo Martin comes home in P3. But really, it is all about Nicolo Cedrati. Unlucky last time out. Absolutely no gremlins of the sort this time. And they will comfortably be the race winner. And of course, the top 3 go directly through to the semi-final. But all of the drivers here will get points depending on their finishing position. And the top point scorers at the end of all 5 months also go through along with the podium finishes. So all is not lost for the other drivers. Valuable points picked up here. And for the guys that aren't on the podium, Luke, it is a marathon rather than a sprint. If you're not in that top 3, that's fine. Being consistent point scorers will also book you a ticket in the semi-finals.
Yeah, for sure. But if you're finishing races in 4th, 5th, 6th, or anywhere in the top 10, you've got to think the law of averages moving forward over the next 5 months. You're going to get yourself in the top 3 at some point. Right. But if you don't, you just keep getting those points, you're going to be fine. You just... Again, just got to keep performing, keep being consistent. And for me, personally, if I'm winning these races, I'm coming back next month. I'm trying to win that next race to go, hey, come on in, try and beat me. I'm the one to beat here. You want to beat me? Do it every single month and just really grind into people, you know, that you're there to stay. But Cedrati, it was very disappointing for him last month. This month, whole different story.
We saw a very interesting stock car race just now, Luke, as well. We didn't have the entire field working together in groups to try and sort of push each other. There wasn't really any bump drafting that we were looking at. From a technical perspective, are we likely to see the way we race in the stock cars change month on month? By month 5, are these guys going to be such seasoned pros at it that we're actually going to be seeing a completely different style of racing? What do you think?
I don't think it comes down to the ability. I think it comes down to what the continent's used to. So in Europe or in the EMEA region, we're used to road racing. You know, we've got the African region as well, and we've got the Middle East as well. They used to, like Abu Dhabi, Formula One. You've got Kyalami, which we're going to see later on from South Africa. They used to road racing, so it's kind of more of a style of racing. It's kind of like stick behind, try and pick your opportunities, make moves up the inside. And we saw this last time really at Charlotte as well. When it came to the North Americans doing the oval, there is a whole different way of doing it. Of course, that's what they're brought up on. Oval racing is everything for them.
So let's take a look at our final results here for the stock car discipline powered by Splunk. We have Nicolas Cedrati managing to win there. Of course, the time of 0 because he's crossed the line at the same time as the finisher. Matteo Bortolotti will be in 2nd place and Flo Martin just behind in 3rd. Terry Despois is going to be a little bit disappointed that we didn't actually get to see him go through as one of the automatic qualifiers for the semifinals. But at the end of the day, Luke, they're valuable points to take home.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. We head to the second page here. Fane Sensi looks like finished down in P11. Cedric Collot in 12th position. Ivan Kashkin in 13th. But for me, IFL Dano, 6th position. Got a good finish in month 1 as well. So he's someone who's indeed tagging on to that points from every round narrative.
Well, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the moments from that last race. All sorts of stuff going on, but I think at the start here, really, it was about Nicolo Cedrati getting a really, really good jump on the rest of the field. Yeah,
that's what you needed to do. Here's the collision we saw earlier in the race, and yeah, it was just really, really unfortunate. The 76 just got completely blindsided, and the opportunity was on for the inside. He tried to turn down, and it was just far too late. And as we see these drivers come across the line, that is indeed Bortolotti and Flo Martin picking up P2 and P3 across the line, and their ticket to the semi-finals.
Love that across the line. Very, very pleased with themselves, some of these drivers. Don't forget as well, you can join the race from home. Use ! giveaway in the Twitch chat and visit the link for your chance to win exclusive Logitech G gear. So thank you very much to everyone for watching. We just want to also say a massive thank you to Splunk, Logitech G, Quantum Pay, and McLaren for helping put on this stream and indeed the entire competition. We look forward to seeing what is next because we are going to be coming back in the Dallara IR01. We're going to Suzuka GP for the open wheel race. Don't go anywhere, folks. More racing coming up after this. Attention racing enthusiasts, the wait is over. So sit down, strap in, and start your engines. This is the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. This video will explain everything you need to know on how to race your way into the grand finals. First, let's break down the basics. There are 4 regions: North America, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. That's over 170 countries. Each region will have their own stock car, sports car, and open wheel challenge. Open wheel and stock car challenges will be racing on iRacing, and the McLaren 720S Sports Car Challenge will be racing on Assetto Corsa Competizione. The season starts in July and goes through November. Each region will compete through 5 rounds of monthly races. Each round will consist of a qualifying period and a live race broadcasted on Twitch. So now that you've got the basics down, let's dive even further. Where do you begin? One word: Qualifier. Anyone can participate on your own schedule. Set your best lap time in any challenge. Drive to the limit and get your best lap submitted. This is your chance to qualify for the monthly round races. So, are you fast enough? If the answer is yes, then you'll move forward to the monthly round races. Every month, in every region, the top 30 drivers from the open wheel, stock car, and sports car challenges will race for a shot at reaching the semi-finals. To reach the semi-finals, you must get a podium position in one of the monthly races or accumulate enough points throughout the season. The top 30 make it in. So, the top 3 from each race in each region and the points leaders move on to the semi-finals. Over 100 drivers have a chance to win a trip to the grand finals weekend. All right, you've made it to the semi-finals, but you haven't crossed the finish line yet. In each region, 30 drivers will race for a chance to win a trip to the grand finals weekend. So, if you're one of the lucky ones that makes it this far, you now have a chance to win it all. Because only the fastest drivers from each region will get sent to the Grand Finals weekend in Las Vegas, a 4-day, 3-night trip to Sin City, including an on-track supercar driving experience. The Grand Finals weekend will be a massive, in-person sim racing community event where drivers will put pedal to the metal and compete on stage in front of a live audience cheering you to victory. Want to be part of this but didn't qualify? Compete in a wildcard event for another chance to make it. More information and locations are at logitechgchallenge.com. Winners of the stock car, open wheel, and sports car grand finals will win a McLaren Racing VIP experience, including a 4-day, all expenses paid trip to London, a tour of the McLaren Technology Centre, coaching from Lando Norris, and a behind-the-scenes tour with McLaren during the Formula One British Grand Prix in 2022. So pull out of the garage and onto the track, and join us for the world's largest sim racing competition with the 2021 Logitech McLaren G Challenge. Attention racing enthusiasts, the wait is over. So sit down, strap in, and start your engines. This is the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. This video will explain everything you need to know on how to race your way into the grand finals. First, let's break down the basics. There are 4 regions: North America, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. That's over 170 countries. Each region will have their own stock car, sports car, and open wheel challenge. Open wheel and stock car challenges will be racing on iRacing, and the McLaren 720S Sports Car Challenge will be racing on Assetto Corsa Competizione. The season starts in July and goes through November. Each region will compete through 5 rounds of monthly races. Each round will consist of a qualifying period and a live race broadcasted on Twitch. So now that you've got the basics down, let's dive even further. Where do you begin? One word: qualifier. Anyone can participate on your own schedule. Set your best lap time in any challenge. Drive to the limit and get your best lap submitted. This is your chance to qualify for the monthly round races. So, are you fast enough? If the answer is yes, then you'll move forward to the monthly round races. Every month, in every region, the top 30 drivers from the open wheel, stock car, and sports car challenges will race for a shot at reaching the semi-finals. To reach the semi-finals, you must get a podium position in one of the monthly races or accumulate enough points throughout the season. The top 30 make it in. So, the top 3 from each race in each region and the points leaders move on to the semi-finals. Over 100 drivers have a chance to win a trip to the grand finals weekend. All right, you've made it to the semi-finals, but you haven't crossed the finish line yet. In each region, 30 drivers will race for a chance to win a trip to the grand finals weekend. So, if you're one of the lucky ones that makes it this far, you now have a chance to win it all, because only the fastest drivers from each region will get sent to the grand finals weekend in Las Vegas, a 4-day, 3-night trip to Sin City, including an on-track supercar driving experience. The grand finals weekend will be a massive, in-person sim racing community event where drivers will put pedal to the metal and compete on stage in front of a live audience cheering you to victory. Want to be part of this but didn't qualify? Compete in a wildcard event for another chance to make it. More information and locations are at logitechgchallenge.com. Winners of the stock car, open wheel, and sports car grand finals will win a McLaren Racing VIP experience, including a 4-day, all expenses paid trip to London, a tour of the McLaren Technology Centre, coaching from Lando Norris, and a behind-the-scenes tour with McLaren during the Formula 1 British Grand Prix in 2022. So pull out of the garage and onto the track, and join us for the world's largest sim racing competition with the 2021 Logitech McLaren G Challenge. Welcome back to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, everybody. We are now live with the Open Wheel Challenge. We're going to be on Suzuka, one of the most loved racing tracks in the world. We are already into the qualifiers here with just under 10 minutes remaining. And just a reminder to all of you what these drivers are racing for. They're trying to get one of the top 3 spots that guarantees their entry into the semi-finals. If they're able to do that, they then drive for a shot at getting to the grand finals in Las Vegas and winning money can't buy prizes, including coaching from Lando Norris, a VIP ticket to the F1 British Grand Prix in 2022, and a tour of the McLaren Technology Centre. Still a long way to go on that journey though, Luke, but that prize sure is shiny.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations to all of the drivers that are in the session right now. You've made it. It's now time for qualifying. Right, so here
One
Suzuka.
word.
Sorry, John. I had to do it. We hear it every single week. Qualifier. It's brilliant.
I like it.
Me and you have a giggle about it every single week, so we should let
so
the audience
good.
in on it. And I'm wondering whether we could actually have a little onboard here of a lap. We're on board with Bence Nemeth, and I wonder if we could just have a little talk through of Suzuka just to show you the track. So hopefully we'll be able to go into cockpit cam here. Across the line we go. And heading down in towards turn number 1 and 2. It's like a double apex corner here. Again, you've got to take a nice apex, run out wide onto the curbing on the left-hand side, and then again, open up the second part of turn 1. And then we come through the Suzuka S's. You've got to grab loads of curb through here, but you've just got to try and maintain as much speed as possible. It's all about your top-end speed, really, through here. And again, just got to make sure you open up this next part of the circuit as we head up towards the Degners. And you see very lack of visibility here with the field of view that we've got on show. Grab a bit of curb on entry, then in towards the Degners. Through the second part here, again, you don't grab any curb on the entry, but you run out wide as you possibly can, running then up towards Kobayashi corner. And this is a really tough corner. You've got to kind of get on the brakes as you're still turning right on entry into that corner. Then you're turning left. So you're trying to indeed transfer the weight of the car twice, which is not ideal. First times are going to start to pop in then as we come across the line for another driver. This is Tamas Simon, actually one of the fastest qualifiers out of everybody, qualified second fastest, so definitely looking forward to seeing what he can indeed produce here in the number 10. But this is just a hell of a championship race right now. Bo Dixon, one of the very quickest drivers in terms of an all-round driver on multiple different sims. We've got a Project Cars 2 background, a race room background, now on iRacing. So yeah, great to see him running around the circuit here today. 6 minutes 50 seconds to go, so we are going to start to see the first times come in. And there we go, Martin van Luzenoord, Marzi then getting a 1:29.532, and in behind, that's such a quick time. Like, he's already faster than what his qualifying time to get here was, John.
Yep. Dipping below the 130s to start things off. Absolutely fantastic opening lap there from Van Luzenoord. Really impressed with that. Some of the, well, I was going to say some of the critical sections of this lap, but one of the fun things about Suzuka, Luke, is that almost every corner and every section is reasonably critical. It's known as a driver's circuit for a reason. Every sector has its own wonderful challenges. And we're going to ride on board with Bo Dixon now as he comes out through the final sector of the lap, negotiating the final chicane before moving down towards start-finish straight and setting what I believe to be his first lap time of the session. Let's take a look at how quick he is as he goes across the line. 1:31.585.
Yeah, this is going to be a race of attrition, to be honest. Keeping it on the straight and narrow for the 10-lap race we're going to have here is the most important thing. You're going to see a lot of people off the circuit. That's just the nature of the beast. But yeah, it's just about making sure that your car is in one piece by the end and you're golden. Van Luzenoord then is at the front end, and actually a fellow Dutchie then in Keita is in second spot. Then we've got the Hungarian of Tamas Simon, Bence Nemeth in fourth position. Julian Bachmann is in fifth position. Sedgley then and Cope in sixth and seventh. Bo Dixon is in eighth as it stands. And then ninth position is Danny O'Keefe. Yet to see a time from Shabolks Ballog. Expecting to see him right up the front end. And indeed Kevin van der Slik. But Wee Marzi is currently P1 with a 1:29.2. And I tell you what, that is 0.3 of a second, nearly 0.4 of a second faster than his qualifying time into this. What pace we are seeing right now.
Right? This is borderline ridiculous now. We might even be looking to see if someone's going to break the 1:29 barrier at this rate. An absolutely blistering lap time to send Van Luzenoord at least temporarily more than 7/10, nearly 8/10 ahead of Sam Kuitert, who's in second place right now. How is it possible to gap the field so much in qualifying? Are we seeing a one-lap wonder in the works, or are we actually going to see Van Luzenoord also carry this momentum through to the race and give us an example of what a lights-to-flag victory should look like?
He absolutely is favourite to win this race. He's pretty much, I'd say, he's arguably the best driver in the world with this specific car on this specific service on iRacing.
And it shows.
Yeah, he's already qualified for the Pro Series, which is coming very, very shortly as well, which is the top series that you'll find in iRacing, very similar to what, if you follow iRacing, the PESC Series or the eNASCAR, now in partnership with Logitech G. So, yeah, he is really right at the top end of the spectrum in terms of talent, and now it's just about getting into that top three, moving on to the semi-finals, and he'll be one of the very favourites to be at the finals and potentially go out and win this competition. I don't didn't think we were going to be able to say that about anybody this early in the competition, but he is just that fast. The fact that he's 0.7 of a second quicker than Sam Kiter, who, again, a 129.9. I wasn't sure we were going to see any more than 129, to be honest. Not 129. One person hitting a 129, and we've seen two. And it's very close there. Simon just... 7,000 of a second off the pace so far. And then we've got Kevin van der Slik, who's 130.3, teammate of Van Loozenord. So they would have done some training together, which could be key in the race.
Very, very tight. Well, once you take Van Loozenord out of the equation, that is. Several cars between 130 and 130.5 at the moment. We'll see if more can join them. Taking a look at cars that are a little bit further down the field. Dan Merchant currently bringing up the rear at a 132.8, so we'll be looking to improve on that very shortly. Danny O'Keefe just ahead of him with a 132.7. Those are the only two drivers on 132s right now. So we will wait and see how many drivers can also break their way into the 129 club. A third driver's done it. Florian Denard has just made it in by the skin of his teeth. 129.996, 700ths of a second, Luke, slower than Sam Kiter.
Yeah, Florian Denard denying Thomas Simon and Kevin van der Slik, a top four there, getting up into the 29.9s. Again, a fantastic time, only 700ths behind Sam Kiter. It's a Dutchy 1-2 as it stands right now, but then they've got the Frenchman just in behind them. So only 14 drivers in this. It just obviously brings up the odds of getting through, but I believe that especially the front 4, 5, potentially 6 drivers here, we are going to be in for an absolutely worldy of a race. Still got 2 minutes to go. They pretty much would have all finished their lap times in all fairness, but it is going to be about Martin van Loozenord. It is going to be about Sam Kiter. Again, Sam Kiter was actually the 4th fastest in terms of qualifying, but he was someone I genuinely overlooked a little bit. Probably shouldn't be doing that, as he's proved right now that he has got some serious pace.
And if he gets a good start as well, I'm being a little bit mean when I say this, but I'm looking forward to potentially seeing Sam Kiter or Florian Denard getting a really, really good jump off the start line. I want to see Van Loozenord sort of fight their way back into the lead of the race. I know the top 3 might be enough, but I'm quite keen for a front-to-field battle here, Luke.
Yeah, well, it's a perfect circuit for a leader to get away because you've got the S's to contend with. It's so difficult to follow another driver but really closely behind through there. But then they don't have a really long straight until they come out of Spoon Curve up towards 130R. Which is right in the final sector of the circuit. So Sector 1 and Sector 2 is really a chance for anybody that has got maybe a little bit more pace to drive away. But be aware, the first couple of laps here, the tyres are very cold. They have to use medium tyres as well. This is one of very few cars within iRacing that actually does have different compounds of tyres. But they will have to use medium because of the fixed setup that they do indeed have. And well, as you can see here, the track temperature only 25.47, so not as hot as it possibly could be. Humidity, though, is relatively warm. The wind, don't need to be too worried about that. The cloudy is what we need to be worried about here. Again, with dynamic weather, you can see it says cloudy over there, but the sun will be exposed, the track will bake, and the tyres will indeed start to go off very quickly.
This is going to be a very interesting race there in overcast conditions. The qualifying is now over. So let's go ahead and take a look at the drivers on our grid. We're going to start with the top 10. Luke, who are we trying to keep an eye out for specifically today in the race that maybe isn't on the front row?
Kevin van der Slik. For me, he's teammates with Martin van Loozenord. So any information that he would have got in terms of the little nuances that sim racers tend to find, he would have passed that information on to him. You've got to keep an eye on the Hungarians. It's always a Hungarian in every sim race at the top level at this stage, John. So you've always got to keep an eye on them. But you never know. If there's any contact, anyone from the top 10 could potentially win this. I feel like the drivers outside the top sort of 10, top 12 might not quite have the pace to be involved in this, unfortunately, just as how quick it is at the front end, really.
Well, Bo Dixon and Jean Cronier are hopefully going to try and prove us wrong there, but it's going to be very difficult with so much overtaking to do. And then we, of course, have Danny O'Keefe and Daniel Merchant bringing up the rear of the field. They're going to be hoping for some heroics on lap 1, followed by some very, very consistent racing for them to make their way up the field. Bo Dixon in particular, Luke, we were talking about him a little bit before. Probably not going to be happy being on the second page of those qualifying results, but making up some races and getting some good points in the race will be very handy for him. Maybe a podium's a bit out of reach.
I agree. And I feel like he's got a bit of an advantage here because I know that some of these drivers on this grid are much more time trial based drivers, whereas I know that he races in so many different leagues across different organizations and so many different competitions. So expect to see him indeed have a bit more consistency in terms of 12 laps. But here we go. You can see the engines are revving here then for our 12 lap race here at Suzuka. It is the second race of the EMEA region, and it is indeed the open wheel, and that is a terrible start then, who I believe for Julian Bachmann. Yes, the Bachmann's dropping down the order as they come through turn number 1, and it's like a scene from Star Wars. Ironically, I've never seen that film, by the way, so I don't know why I'm bringing that up. As we look at the cars near the rear here, again, all filtering in. It's a very clean start, by the way. Cannot fault them. And as I said, Martin van Loozenhoorn, as soon as you can get out ahead here at Suzuka, the first couple of sectors is very much in your favour because of the slipstream or the dirty air, the turbulent air that you are indeed forcing onto the front wing. Sam Keitel, though, is in second. Florian Denard then currently in third position. We then got Thomas Simon, who is currently in fourth position, and then Kevin van der Slik is in fifth spot. So your top 5 then are as they qualified. No real moves here, but the top sort of 7, 8, 9, 10, potentially 11 cars here. Still very, very close, but as it was in qualifying, we've got one standout leader.
Kevin van der Slik very, very close to the back of Thomas Simon right there, and he was almost thinking about making a move. Not quite. He's only about a car's length away from the 4th place driver, so could potentially go for an overtake on lap 2, that's for sure. Nice clean start by Van Loozenhoorn, and I'm afraid, Luke, there's no amount of commentary you can provide us, however entertaining, that means we don't revisit the fact you've never watched the Star Wars films between now and the end of the broadcast. So I'm afraid we're just going to have to keep bringing it up.
Okay, luckily I'm not too worried about it, so, you know, everyone else can be worried about it, I'm not. We did have a change for position then, so Florian Denard did get up to second spot. Sam Keitel is down into third then. Kevin van der Slik did get ahead of Thomas Simon, so it looks like it is, again, very similarly to what we've seen so far. Top 4, top 5, all battling for position, but P1, P2, they tend to get away here. So Martin van Loozenhoorn still leading. But I tell you what, he has not got the advantage I thought he might do. And Sam Keitel is not being dropped here by Florian. So Florian got off the line beautifully well, but ultimately not able to drop here. But the top 3 are in pretty close contention. Bear in mind, though, Kevin van der Slik had to make an overtake on the previous lap. Did lose a little bit of time, and now he might be able to make some advancements towards the front 3.
This is very interesting that Van Loozenhoorn hasn't actually... I mean, he's not in front by more than a second, at least not at the start of the second lap. And he out-qualified everyone by such a margin that I honestly thought he was just going to zoom off into the distance. Credit to Florian Denard and Sam Keitel.
Sam Keitel there has got an absolute worldie of a run then. Out of Kobayashi corner. It's so difficult to lay the power down early in these cars with a car right in front of you. Of course, with the front wing having no downforce whatsoever, so it just wants to take off effectively. And ultimately, that is exactly what Sam Keitel's been able to do. Heading down towards 130 yards, side by side between the two. And fair play to Florian Denard. He read that situation and thought, we go through here 2 by 2. We are going to give away a lot of time. I think he realizes that top 3 is exactly where he needs to be. But ultimately now, P4, P5 have caught up. We've got a 4-way battle for second.
Florian Denard doesn't have to worry too much about finishing in his current position, but exactly like you said, Luke, he can't afford to lose one more. So if he can work together with Sam Keitel and they gap the cars behind them, that is the best possible result for both of them before they then battle for pride or ego in the closing laps to see who will take second place. Really nice retake there from Sam Keitel. And Van Loozenhoorn now starting to gap second and third a little bit. It looks like that's extended now to something like a second and a half, 2 seconds.
Yeah, this is exactly what Florian would have decided there. He's just gone, do you know what? I want to be top 3. I maybe feel like the drivers behind don't quite have that pace. I'm happy to sit behind Keitel for the rest of this race. But ultimately, he's being proved correct here. So Kevin van der Slik is under a little bit of pressure here from Thomas Simon as they come up towards Kobayashi once again. And this is again where Sam Keitel was able to get the power down so much earlier. And again, he's just driving away. So we didn't really see the concertina effect really on the previous lap because Sam was just able to get that power down really early, not lighting up the wheels, not losing any momentum, and ultimately holding on to, well, setting himself up for that run towards P2, which he did indeed get done into 1:30R. Fastest lap of the race then from the number 14 at a 1:29.679, which is absolutely ridiculous. Again, very close to his qualifying time to get into this race from the last month. He's about a 1/10 of a second slower in towards then the final chicane. And to anyone out there who's an iRacing racer, I do apologise for the field of view that we are witnessing right now from our observers. I don't believe they race officially on the surface. I'm going to throw it out there. I don't reckon that they're anything above 5K in iRacing. because this is just a field of view I don't want to be racing in for sure. It's just far too stretched out. But ultimately, it's working out for Van Loozenord. That will not be his field of view, that's for sure. He's 2.5 seconds in the lead. Half a second then the difference between Keitel and Florian Denard. Again, that's all they need to do right now. Kevin van der Slik not able to really push forward here because he's got Tamas Simon relatively close behind. But the front five have got away here, and they're all looking pretty good to challenge for this top three. Florian Denard, even though he's given up that position, didn't lose any time, maybe starting to get into the clutches here of P4 and P5.
Tamas Simon just 4/10 off Kevin van der Slik at the moment, certainly piling on the pressure and trying to force an additional mistake. If he's able to do that, then that's one step closer to the podium, but they're being dropped the entire time from the top three. Currently, it's just under a second between Kevin van der Slik and a potential podium position. So he wants to try and keep his eye on the prize and not have to drive so defensively, but that's a lot easier said than done. The rest of the field looking like they're concertinaing out, well, a little bit more nicely, shall we say. No one's really within half a second of the car in front. So really, this battle right now is all about third and fourth being settled so that one of them can go on to potentially challenge for a podium.
Yeah, 100%. The key position right now is P4. Kevin van der Slik just in behind Florian Denard. Those two are the two closest on circuit as we head then on board with our race leader as it stands. I tell you what, these cars look so cool. Oh wow, that is a quick lap, a 29.4. Remember, these drivers will have more fuel on board for this, and I think it's up above 20 laps worth of fuel in the cars for the setup that they're using. So in qualifying, they would have had a little bit less than that. Would have been sort of 6 or 7 laps. So yeah, to be piling in lap times like that is absolutely ridiculous. He has got clear air to work with. But ultimately, this is why he is known as one of the very best with this car. He'll be hoping that his teammate can potentially make a move here. But actually, it's like he's dropped off the pace here. And we're looking on board with Kevin van der Slik. He's got Tamas Simon right in behind him. So these three then are starting to close up and battle for that top 3 spot to qualify into our semi-finals. It's starting to look good for Sam Keitel. He's been able to drive away. But we saw last time out Okayama. Again, John was too busy just being out there chilling on holiday. Yeah, sunning himself. I don't know. Lying by the pool, pina colada in one hand.
Oh, yes, please.
Probably a magazine in another.
No, it's another pina colada in the other one.
Okay, absolutely. Oh, my man. But yeah, as it was the case in Okayama, the tyres just dropped off. Very similarly to what we saw in a stock car. The only one that we're not really going to see that happen is the sports car series in ACC. Those tyres are designed to go for an hour, pretty much. Sometimes for a 2-hour stint. But as it stands, it is indeed Van Loozenord. It looks like he may have been taking a little bit of time off, actually. As much as he is still extending his position over P2, he's only by 0.2 of a second. So he's maybe just taking a little bit of lap time off here, just trying to indeed make sure that he gets into the end in P1 at the halfway stage of this race, or at the end of this lap, at the very least, will be the halfway point. But again, the battle for P3 is very, very warm right now. Tamas Simon, again, will be loving the fact that these two in front may potentially battle, and he's looking to pick up some pieces here. Doesn't look like he's got the outright pace, but again, is he saving some tyres for later on in the race, then potentially go and attack? It's a very high tyre wear circuit, of course, Suzuka. It is full, especially the S's at the start of the circuit. That's all you need to know, really. Right. But yeah, it is super, super close here for that P3. Again, P1, P2 have just been able to drive well. Although Keitel seems to be being caught here. And well, as a fan, as someone who's just a fan with a microphone, John, if we could potentially see 4 people trying to battle for 2 spots, that would be delightful.
It absolutely would. He's managed to gap Florian Denard to the tune of about a second, but like you were saying before, it's so difficult on the tyres this circuit. The changes of direction, the amount of heat put into them can give rise to mistakes later on. A big potential move here. Tamas Simon on Kevin van der Slik. Can he get the move done? This is at speed. Just behind that huge crash. One of these cars has just gone off. I think it was Kevin van der Slik.
No, it wasn't. It was Tamas Simon. Van der Slik was up the inside.
Oh, no, there he is.
Yeah, Tamas Simon's just run off the circuit there. We're going to need to see a replay. And basically, Kevin van der Slik made a mistake then out of Spoon Curve and just did not have the momentum. And it just, the slipstream was easy then for Tamas Simon just slip it up in towards and ultimately had a lot more momentum to work with, but it just did not work out. There definitely was some contact, I think, between the two. And you want to hope here then for the sake of Slik that, first of all, he wasn't at fault for it. Second of all, that he hasn't got any damage on the front of that car. Such a downforce-dependent vehicle, and already you can see that there is some time being lost. So, yeah, big incident here.
Let's go ahead and take a look at that incident in a little bit more detail, courtesy of Quantum Pay, the future of modern banking. Make your move, and well, there's certainly going to be a big move made here, Luke.
So there we go. We saw Florian Denards. Yeah, we're not going to quite actually see the incident, are we?
Behind. He had already gone off by that point.
We're not actually going to see it. We need to see it from the actual those two drivers' perspective. Watching it from the wrong car, unfortunately. Florian Denards. We could talk about him though. Previously, he was overtaken through 130R by Sam Keiter and gave him the room and just said, "You have it. Don't want to lose too much time." It didn't happen for them, and that's a big mistake by Kevin Van der Slick. And yeah, he's struggling here. I think he's got damage to that car. It's the second time that he has indeed, just lost the rear of slightly, really pushing the tires for sure. And I'm wondering whether we can see it from his perspective. That's the person we need to see it from, the replay. Maybe we'll see that a little bit later on in the race here. But the big picture really is he's losing time to Florian Denard. And Florian Denard, that move where earlier on wasn't really battling with Sam Keiter overly too much and gave away P2 for free, seems like an absolute worldie of a play right now.
That almost confirms our suspicion that there might have been some contact with Tamas Simon there. You can see him just struggling to keep control of the car through the changes of direction right now. A little bit of correction as soon as he turns left there through the start of the S's. Kevin Van der Slick is not happy with that car right now, and he's over 2.5 seconds adrift of Florian Denard, which is the place that he needs to be in if he wants to guarantee himself a spot in the semi-final straight away. That said, let's not lose sight of the bigger picture. He's 8 seconds, Luke, just under 8 seconds ahead of Thomas Cope. And that is a fistful of points that he'll be able to take into month 3 if he is able to keep this position on lap 8 out of 12.
Yeah, but also you've got to we're looking at on board with Florian Denard here. There's still potential of mistakes happening. Like the tyres go off after 2 laps with this car. When I was doing the qualifying phase, because I qualified, sorry, I had to bring it in once, John.
Did you qualify? Really? Oh. Funny that.
The tyres are at their best on the first lap, and then the second lap they kind of are okay still, but they drop off. So you've got 2 laps, even with the mediums, to be absolutely lightningly fast. It's scary how bad the tyres get on this car. So you're going to see, we're seeing Denard here. He's doing so much counter steering on the exit of corners, just trying to keep the car facing in the right direction. That again, Kevin just needs to keep himself, he's 3 seconds behind. Doesn't need to push it now. Could lose half a second a lap, realistically. But ultimately, if someone makes a mistake in front of him, just needs to be there to pick up those pieces. But again, I think the move of the day, and it wasn't really, it was like an opposite of a move of the day, really, for Florian Denard. Letting Sam go earlier in this race, for me, has been move of the day, and it's kind of guaranteed in that top 3.
It's certainly put him in a strong position, hasn't he? I mean, Kevin Van der Slick is still within touching distance of a mistake. Don't forget, if you go off track and you need to sort of tiptoe your way back onto it, you can lose of the order of 5 to 7 seconds here. So the fact that Kevin Van der Slick is 4 seconds down the road right now doesn't mean he isn't still in with a chance of clinching that 3rd place. Florian Denard has to keep his game face on, has to keep his concentration in tip-top shape, especially with the tires continuing to go off even further lap by lap. He just has to hold on for 3.5 laps now. If he manages to do that, well, then he's got himself a space in the semi-final.
Yeah, we just come through the hardest corner there of Kobayashi, and last time it looked very, very sloppy on exit. This time, not so much. This corner's it's relatively simple. It's not simple to get lots of lap time from, but it's relatively simple to negotiate. The long run then down in towards 130R, which will be a flat-out left-hander, as we will head on to the final 3 laps once Van Loosenord crosses the line. And right now, it is looking superbly brilliant for the 2 Dutchies in P1 and P2. Florian Denard then in P3. And I said it was a battle between the Hungarians and the Brits. None of them are in the top 3 right now. None of them.
It's it does look to be pretty one-sided on the whole when you take a look at it from that point of view. There's no denying it. Where are there? I mean, let's talk about Bo Dixon. Back up into P6, just quietly getting along with things, not getting into trouble. Didn't start on the first page of our grid, Luke, let alone that row. And he'll be reasonably happy with making up this many places.
Yeah, for sure. He finished in P12 from round 1 as well, so he got 18 points. If he is to finish in P6 today, he'll get another 28, which makes it up to, 46, I think, by my maths. So he'll be on 46 points moving forward in this, which is relatively good. The only person that's ahead of him, or the only people that were ahead of him right now, were Adam Illman, Gio Cortez, Peter Zuber. None of those drivers are here. Peter Smith, Oysin Walsh. We've got Leon Penn, Pablo Espes, and the rest of the drivers qualified. They're through to the semi. So right now, Bo Dixon's putting himself in a position here to be the second driver in terms of points.
Yep, if you're one of the top 3, the points don't matter, but for everyone else, actually, that consistency certainly pays off. And I've just been informed as well that we have a replay from a different angle of that off early. So let's go ahead and take a look at the Quantum Play replay. Here we go from up above. A lot clearer what's going on this time, Luke.
Yeah, so there we go. You see Tamas Simon trying to go round the outside. Kevin van der Slik's got the inside line. But as they come into the corner, no, they're still side by side. Oh, and
there's no contact.
That is our friend Netcode there, unfortunately. Yeah, absolutely gutted there for Tamas Simon, but there was no contact between both of them, so neither of them did anything wrong. Tamas Simon's done the perfect thing there, tried to squeeze Kevin van der Slik onto the apex to force him to be a little bit slower through the corner, and then indeed make the move stick round the outside up and towards the final chicane. And then, unfortunately, the netcode has come in, which is a thing in sim racing. That is the nature of the beast, unfortunately. And ultimately, it's ruined both of their races because Kevin's got damage as well. So, yeah, it was a really good attempt, and it's just very unfortunate for both drivers, ultimately. And I'm sure that there would have been some expletives shouted by Tamas Simon, but he'll look at the replay there and realise that it wasn't indeed anybody's fault, realistically. Back to the lead, though. Martin van Luzenoord is in P1, Sam Keiter in P2, Florian Denard is in P3. But ultimately, you've got to take chances in this, John, haven't you? You've got to hashtag make your move.
You absolutely do. We saw a little bit of a wobble off the curb there, but less comfortably held and under control there from Sam Keiter in P2. Little bit of a wobble. Florian Denard just over a second and a half behind him. Can't afford to be making too many of those. And I think Denard will have seen that as well, or at least seen the smoke that was the tail end of that, and have gone, actually, if I keep pushing here, I still have a chance. Importantly, he's now 5 seconds ahead of Kevin van der Slik, so applying a little bit of pressure to see if we can get a little bit of pride by getting Sam Keiter. I mean, that could be on the cards for Florian, but he's happy to finish where he is, to be honest. So this is just a bit of a bonus.
Have you ever seen the Danny DeVito meme where he's just shaking his head? Like, nope, nope.
Yes.
That's Florian Denard right now. He's seeing Sam Keiter struggling. He's like, no, don't struggle. I don't want to get involved. I don't want to have to make an overtake. I'll take P3 right now. Just please, Sam, don't crash. So yeah, that's what Florian's doing in the cockpit right now.
They're within a second of each other now.
Sorry?
They're within a second of each other now. I think Florian Denard is pushing. I think he wants P2.
No, Keiter's tires are gone. That's what it is. Keiter,
Yeah.
he just couldn't get any power down at all. Everybody's going to be struggling at this point here. Marzi here in P1, he's the only one really who hasn't had to deal with being in behind another car. But you can see that Keiter, his car has just basically got no grip. It's like running on the rims now. So you imagine trying to get the power down in such a high torque car with no weight involved with the car, and then you've got metal on to the tarmac, which is effectively what's going on right now. There's no rubber at this stage. But again, Martin van Luzenoord, how fast is he going through here? Okay, yeah, he's not holding back. Through there flat out still. In towards the final chicane, and, well, he was the quickest qualifier. He was the #1 seed, not only in EMEA, he was the #1 seed across all 4 regions. And, well, we knew he was going to do pretty well today, but he will take the checker flag. And Martin van Luzenoord has just punched his ticket to the semi-finals of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. In second spot, we think it's going to be Sam Keiter. If his tyres allow him to do so, it is. There's the green car. And very reminiscent of the 7-Up Benetton from back in the early 90s.
Yes.
And then we've got Florian Denard in P3. So that's your 3 qualifiers. The best position in terms of getting points for the rest of the season, in terms of qualifying outside of the top 3 each time. Kevin van der Slik, Thomas Cope, Bo Dixon, all looking pretty good.
Very well held there at the end by Sam Keiter, really struggling with those tyres, and Florian Denard very close, but not quite making it there in 3rd place. Still, he's going to be happy with that, like you say, Luke. 2nd place wasn't necessary. He has punched his ticket as well to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge semi-finals. Very exciting race up front, I have to say. We had more of a concertina effect towards the back of the field than we did at the front, and potential changes of position all the way up until the last lap. That was fun watching.
Yeah, for sure. A few incidents as well with a netcode, unfortunately. But for me, Florian Denard, he gave away P2 because he didn't want to deal with the pressure of having someone right behind him. Turned out to be move of the race. Takes his P3, moves on to the semi-finals.
Very nicely done. And there will be chances, Rue, of course, with the netcode issue, unfortunately, further down the field. But this also means that we get to look forward to some really exciting races next month as well. Let's now go ahead and take a look at some of our final results for the open wheel race powered by Splunk. Martin van Luzenoord, very, very comfortable victory there. And 7 seconds behind, Sam Keiter, as well as Florian Denard. Those are your top 3.
Yeah, they are very much deserved as well. Those top 3, they'll be advancing towards our semi-finals later in the year. Unfortunately, only 9 drivers managed to finish. We did indeed have Tamas Simon just in the top 10, but he was obviously not finished with wheels missing. Julian Bachmann, John Cronje, Bent Nemeth, and Daniel Sedgley are your 14 drivers that are indeed classified.
Let's now go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from that race. Really fun start, actually. A couple of bad, well, I would say relatively bad starts from just beyond the front row of the grid, causing potentially 3 cars going side by side into the S's there on lap 1, Luke. It was all kicking off.
It certainly was, but here's the move of the day for me so far. Denard just protecting his race. He's in the red car. And again, it sounds really silly that he let someone go through, and that's the move of the race, but he just didn't want to deal with the pressure. Here's the netcode issue. And that's just so unfortunate for both drivers. That is indeed Tamas Simon with only 1 wheel left attached to the car. But ultimately, there's Keiter at the end of the race again. His tyres were absolutely shot. He managed to indeed hold on to P2. He's done all the hard work early. But here's our race winner, Martin van Luzenoord. Picks up the dub, moves on to the semi-finals.
Very, very nicely done. Now, earlier, we asked you to send in your tweets using the hashtag Logitech G Challenge. Our social team have taken a look through them and have picked a few of us to share with you. Carter says, anyone watching Logitech G Challenge, this is the future of sports right here. And it's across 3 different disciplines as well, of course. So you get to pick your flavor and who you want to be cheering on in each one. Caitlin Vinci also says it's fun to see stock car racing virtually at Indianapolis. Love this concept. Right back at you, and we're hoping to see even more of it later on when we move on to APAC as well. So this is EMEA, but we've actually got to do this 3 more times. You've got APAC later on tonight, as well as LATAM and North America tomorrow as well. So all sorts of stuff going on. Don't forget, join the race yourself. If you're watching at home, you can use !giveaway in the chat, and you visit the link in chat for your chance to win Logitech G gear and iRacing credits. All for this, I mean, all this can be won just by watching. You don't need to be participating. You don't need to be supporting a particular driver. Just join in and you could be the winner of some of these prizes. So we want to say a massive thank you as well to Splunk, Logitech G, Quantum Pay, and McLaren for helping us put this entire show on. It's across 2 days, of course, these monthly finals. You are watching the EMEA monthly finals right now. We've got APAC later. North America and LATAM are coming at you tomorrow. But we are going to be coming back very shortly with the McLaren 720S GT3 sports cars. We're going all the way to South Africa and Kyalami after this. See you soon. Attention racing enthusiasts, the wait is over. Strap in and start your engines. This is the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. This video will explain everything you need to know on how to race your way into the grand finals. First, let's break down the basics. There are 4 regions: North America, Asia Pacific, Latin America, and EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. That's over 170 countries. Each region will have their own stock car, sports car, and open wheel challenge. Open wheel and stock car challenges will be racing on iRacing, and the McLaren 720S Sports Car Challenge will be racing on Assetto Corsa Competizione. The season starts in July and goes through November. Each region will compete through 5 rounds of monthly races. Each round will consist of a qualifying period and a live race broadcasted on Twitch. So now that you've got the basics down, let's dive even further. Where do you begin? One word: qualifier. Anyone can participate on your own schedule. Set your best lap time in any challenge. Drive to the limit and get your best limited. This is your chance to qualify for the monthly round races. So, are you fast enough? If the answer is yes, then you'll move forward to the monthly round races. Every month in every region, the top 30 drivers from the open wheel, stock car, and sports car challenges will race for a shot at reaching the semi-finals. To reach the semi-finals, you must get a podium position in one of the monthly races or accumulate enough points throughout the season. The top 30 make it in. So, the top 3 from each race in each region and the points leaders move on to the semi-finals. Over 100 drivers have a chance to win a trip to the grand finals weekend. All right, you've made it to the semi-finals, but you haven't crossed the finish line yet. In each region, 30 drivers will race for a chance to win a trip to the grand finals weekend. So, if you're one of the lucky ones that makes it this far, you now have a chance to win it all, because only the fastest drivers from each region will get sent to the grand finals weekend in Las Vegas, a 4-day, 3-night trip to Sin City, including an on-track supercar driving experience. The grand finals weekend will be a massive, in-person sim racing community event where drivers will put pedal to the metal and compete on stage in front of a live audience cheering you to victory. Want to be part of this but didn't qualify? Compete in a wildcard event for another chance to make it. More information and locations are at logitechgchallenge.com. Winners of the stock car, open wheel, and sports car grand finals will win a McLaren Racing VIP experience, including a 4-day, all expenses paid trip to London, a tour of the McLaren Technology Centre, coaching from Lando Norris, and a behind-the-scenes tour with McLaren during the Formula 1 British Grand Prix in 2022. So pull out of the garage and onto the track, and join us for the world's largest sim racing competition with the 2021 Logitech McLaren G Challenge. Welcome back, everybody, to the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. We are live with qualifying for the sports car segment of tonight. Now, you'll notice individual qualifiers. Each car was effectively on track on its own earlier on. Well, guess what? Everyone is on track at the same time. There's going to be significantly more chaos, but hopefully everyone will be able to get a couple of good laps in. I'm John Sargent. With me is Luke Crane, and if nothing else, Luke, this is certainly a lot more entertaining to look at during qualifying.
Yeah, if you could just leave me alone for a bit, John. I'm currently down at turn 5 having a barbecue. So yep. just let me fill my face with some food here for a minute, and then we're good to go.
Very good.
Yeah, if you didn't realise, guys, it's just a joke, okay? The turn 5 is actually called barbecue, which is one of my favourite things in the world. And I actually worship barbecue, so that's my choice. But yeah, we are here at Kyle Army. For me, the most race-friendly circuit on the game, on ACC. Fact. This is going to be beautiful. It's such a flowing circuit. It's nice and wide. It's open. There's chances of slipstream. There's chances to send one up the inside. Yeah, it's just going to be a fantastic spectacle as we indeed are on board here with the most hated man in esports, Eamon Murphy.
We've got 8.5 minutes left in the qualifying session, by the way. We're also going to take a closer look at one of the cars that is already on track and last year's EMEA champion. So I'm sure he has a thing or two to say about racing in the Logitech McLaren G Challenge. We caught up with Brandon Abraham.
The big dog right now, who is a little dog, he's 18 years old. It is Abraham that's taken the lead.
My name's Brandon Abraham. I'm 19 years old from London. And yeah, I've been racing since I was 8 years old. And yeah, just recently got into sim racing a few years ago, and it's been a great journey so far. So I got into sim racing when I was around 14 years old. Originally, I used to practice and use sim racing for my real life racing. Like for example, when I was, I think 6, I went to this Expo car show and I set the fastest time on this little simulator thing. It was like a Ferrari sim or something. And yeah, the guy was really impressed, and that's actually what kind of first sparked my father's motivation to take me karting actually. One of my idols in real life racing is definitely Ayrton Senna. Just his mindset, his dedication is really motivational for me. I always remember this quote from Ayrton Senna. He always says, "It's the one that can put together the combination between aggressivity and calculating things which will get the best result." So yeah, it's about being aggressive at times, but then when you need to relax and just stay calm and collected and pick off opportunities when you see them. I also do meditation, which I do in my academy that I'm part of in racing called iZone Drive Performance, which is a great place based up at Silverstone. We do meditation in the mornings. The ability to just sit with yourself, be in the present moment when racing is major.
It is the final race then of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge.
I was one lap away from winning the championship. This back marker was parked, literally parallel parked in the middle of the track. And yeah, I crashed into him. I was in a blind corner, and just like that, my European Championship was out the window. All the hard work I put in all year just gone away from something like that, which is completely out of my control. And then the Logitech team phoned us up and was like, yeah, they're going to rerun it. And then yeah, I was amazed. They'd never done it before, and yeah, I had full respect for the Logitech team for doing that. I came back and performed even better, and then got the world record on the track as well in the car, which still stands today actually. For sure, the highlight of my career was yeah, winning the European Championship last year.
The winner of the Logitech McLaren G Challenge is Brandon Abraham!
Just from what I took and the emotional roller coaster I had, it's always have a place in my mind. It's going to take a lot to win the championship again this year. I'd say there's going to be stronger competition out there, but no, I'm going to keep focused and just stay grounded and do my best to do it.
So that was Brandon Abraham, and we can see him on track now. Looking forward to setting a competitive lap time, hopefully on Kyalami, and wowing us with some strong racing today. An absolutely incredible young man, Luke, but I think he said it all when it was a struggle to do it last season. He managed to do it, and it's going to be even harder this time round.
Yeah, 100%. It's we're on a game now that's relatively new. And it's still in its boom bubble right now, where so many people are taking part on it. There's so many options out there to indeed race on. Whereas last year we're on Project Cars 2, which is an incredible game, and we played the death out of it, if you like, really, because it's been out for so many years now, nearly actually 4 years this month, which is quite crazy to say. So yeah, you're going to be racing against a lot more people ultimately, but to be still qualifying for these finals just goes to show how fast he really is. We are well underway in qualifying, 4 minutes 50 seconds here, and the difference between qualifying on iRacing and here is that the fact that they can do as many laps as they want. As long as they cross the line before it gets to 0 on the top left-hand corner of your screen, then they can still finish a lap time. Right now, though, it is indeed Jacob Bohm who is in the lead, or Boom, should I say, with the double dots on the top. Although Darren McCormack then has taken provisional pole position. Tinko van der Velde then is in second. Watch out for Tinko. Tinko is, again, one of the very fastest drivers in the world currently. Darren McCormack also one of those drivers. But this field is absolutely stacked with talent. I'm expecting to see times that are, well, we already are. We're seeing times that are quicker than what we saw in the qualifying phase of this championship. To get to this point in qualifying for the race, we're now down to a 140.1, and I'm probably going to throw it out that we're going to see a 39.
Oh, I think it's almost inevitable at this point. We're teasing fate, really. We've got 5 different drivers. Hang on. We've got 7 different drivers below a 140.4. At some point, it's going to have to happen. The question is, who? So we're just getting a little bit of fresh rubber on a lot of these cars, and we're going out for what I suspect are going to be the final runs. If they can cross the start-finish line after their first hot lap, they will get a second one in, but really now we're looking to see those lap times tumble. Who's going to be the first driver to cross the 140 threshold?
Yeah, for sure. It could be any one of these drivers, to be honest. It is a ridiculously close session. Top 16 separate by 0.8 of a second. We thought it was close to Spa. It's even closer here, as we're on board then with Wolf. Of course, he was our... he came second in the European Championships, and he indeed came second in the World Finals in 2019. Isaac Gillison was the driver that was indeed champion of both, who had qualified for this, but it looks like he is not in the session. Which is a little bit unfortunate. Would have been good to see him this weekend, unless I missed him in the front 15 here. Isaac Gillison, no, he's not there, so he's not here. But again, still such a huge plethora of talent.
It's a stack field regardless, and Isaac would have simply added to this. Absolutely delightful stuff. But either way, we are in for a very close race, and seeing so many cars within 0.2 of each other at the top of the leaderboards as well. Oh, we're so close to 139 now. We have McCormick with a 140.032 and Van der Velde with a 140.077. The lap times continue to tumble, and it's not until we get to 19th place now that we have a lap time that's in the 141s. We are knocking on the door of the inevitable right now.
It's just going to be the racing that's going to be the exciting part of this. It is ridiculous place to race. It's so open. It promotes racing basically, side by side. Lots of opportunities to make overtakes as well, where both drivers don't lose a lot of time as well. So Nikolai just about to come across the line. Will we see any improvement then from them? Currently down to P12, and yes, we will. P9, so 140.401, and now all of a sudden the top 15 are separated by 0.6 of a second, but everybody's making their way up there, and I think we may have just seen a change for pole position. Just as it changed to 16 to 21, we will have a look at that now as we're on board with Johnny Knight. No, it's still a 140.032. So 1 minute 30 seconds to go. They're all finished this lap time, and they should all get at least one more attempt.
Now, of course, the longer you stay out, the less likely you're going to have a useful shelf life on those tires. Ideally, you just want to get a couple of hot laps out of them, and you don't really want to be staying out of them for long. That's why, of course, we had some of the cars returning to the garage mid-session for a final run. Generally speaking, Luke, is there a sort of optimum, this is the number of laps you want to stay out for before immediately returning to the pits for fresh boots?
Yeah, a couple of laps, really. Also, it'll be a case of they only put enough fuel in the car for a couple of laps as well. So you want to have the car as light as possible. So they'll come back out and, again, fresh rubber, light fuel. And ultimately, you're in a good spot here as we've now got Wolf coming across the line. And does he improve on his time? Well, we'll find out once it comes across to the first 10. He will get, indeed, 40 more seconds to have crossed the line. So he will get this next lap time as well, which is a bit of a bonus. And, yeah, P3 then. So 140.086. The front three separated by around about half a tenth of a second. Oh, my Lord, this is close.
The 13 drivers are separated by half a second. 13. And 20 out of 21 of the drivers are doing 140s. This is actually the most fun, closest race I think we are ever going to see, if there ever was one. This circuit is about to dish up something special.
We're on board now with Sam Bagnall, who is currently in 14th on the grid, just came across the line. He's just transitioned from PlayStation 4 or PlayStation 5 to PC, and the PC level is just like, there's a few drivers that are very similar paced to the top level PC drivers when they're racing on console, but in terms of the top tier, how many there are on PC, there's hundreds, whereas on PlayStation there's only like a couple. Same with Xbox as well. Sam Bagnall's come across from PlayStation and taking the world by storm. He has got a hugely bright future in front of him. He's only been on merely a couple of weeks, actually still racing in leagues on PlayStation as we speak, to be fair, in the last couple of weeks. So to see him at this level already is quite incredible. Again, only 0.4 of a second off pole position. If you told him before this race started, you're going to be 0.4 off pole, he'd be like, yeah, cool, I'll be top 5, no problem. You're 15th.
Nuh-uh. Unbelievable stuff here. And I said we were knocking on the door of the inevitable. No one's improved on the 140.032 yet, so maybe that tension is going to maintain itself well into the race. And I cannot believe how unbelievably close this is. We've also just passed that threshold, by the way, where every single driver is in the 140s now as well. So there aren't even outliers anymore, Luke. Everybody is lapping in the 140s.
Yeah, this is the one. For EMEA, the sports car series is going to be the closest throughout the year. North America's got its own in that regard as well with the NASCAR, the oval. So those two regions are going to be particularly strong at these disciplines. And you can just tell by the times here. Again, the top 15 separated by 5 tenths. Manu Rodriguez, a Team Redline driver, one of the very best out there in terms of an all-rounder these days from Spain, is currently P15 on the grid. Like, that is ridiculous in itself. But it is 8 tenths or 9 tenths of a second separating the whole field here. 21 drivers separated by less than a second here at Kyalami, where it promotes racing. It promotes excitement. We're in for an absolute worldie of a time here, for sure.
I am looking forward to this so much. That's the qualifiers over, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to go ahead and take a look now at the track conditions moving into the race here at Kyalami. A nice comfortable 25 degrees. Track a little bit warmer on 30. But once again, we have a very still, very cloudy day. 0.00. I love how precise that is. Not even a breeze to tickle you as the cars go lapping around the track. And with all 21 drivers lapping in the 140s, this is going to be absolutely delightful.
Yep, I'm glad I'm not there because I'll be bathing in ice cream right now. That is hot. No breeze as well. Yeah, that is not ideal. Here is your grid then for today's race, the final race of the EMEA region. Dara McCormack then takes P1 from Tinko van der Velde. Wolf is then in third with Eamon Murphy. Bagnall, and then we've got Marco Macro in P6. Manos Gerardis and Jacob Butchim are in P7 and P8. Brandon Abraham and then Mattia Blotto are your top 10.
Moving into the 11 through 20, we've got Nikolai lining up with Whitehead on row number 6. Van der Colt and Chris McDade will be 13th and 14th, and Manuel Rodriguez, you were talking about just now, and Leslie Oliphant will be 15th and 16th. Behind them are Johnny Knight and Samuele Spotto, and Tariq Adam and Sebastian Apostol will make up your top 20. Now, there's only one name on the third screen, and it's Daniel Valle, but literally every single driver is lapping in the 140s at this point. So while you're at the back of the pack, maybe that's a blessing in disguise. Maybe Daniel Valle will be able to take advantage of some potential drama upfield because everyone is packed in so unbelievably close.
We've had a very clean evening's racing so far. We are bound to have some fireworks at some point. And the fact that these are all so close, I think this is the one here then. Here we go. We're here for the final race of the EMEA region. It's a sports car race as they come up towards the final corner. We're in a formation here. It's a short formation. One corner to go. And it is Dara McCormack then and Van der Velde. Beautiful that they're both in exactly the same car. The chances of that happening is what? 1 in 15? Unbelievable. But they are on the front row.
One in commentators being confused.
Exactly that. Here we go then. It is 20 minutes of timed racing here for the Sports Car Challenge. Here in the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, the green light is out, as Panky tells us, and Van der Velde then does take the lead here. Darren McCormack then gets caught napping ever so slightly, and look at the slipstreaming then from Eamon Murphy. If there's a gap, Murphy's taking it. It's 3 wide in the background, almost 4 wide as Abraham makes a late dive up the inside, and it looks like Van der Velde is just going to hang on. No contact so far, but now it does indeed. Well, it very much closes up as a pinch point now through the first S's here. It's Eamon Murphy then makes a move on his fellow Irish driver. Contact between the two, and McCormack then is sent off. He comes back on, and there's a big gap to come back on in. So it looks like everybody else has come on. That's a very poor rejoin, really, as he's just come back in front of everybody here. But Eamon Murphy's looking for a move up the inside. I'm not too sure how far up alongside he was. Darren McCormack's gone for a pole position, down to maybe P10.
Yeah, I feel a little bit sorry for McCormack there. It looks like, in my amateur opinion, I believe he might have had position on Murphy there. There's some unintentional contact, and both of them, to be fair, went sideways a little bit. It wasn't like a punt or anything like that, just a little bit of a nudge. Both lost control of their cars momentarily, but Murphy was able to maintain his position and stay on track. Let's go ahead and take a look at that replay, courtesy of Quantum Pay, the future of modern banking. This definitely is #MakeYourMove.
We're looking at Valle here at the back end of the grid as it stands. So this is definitely the wrong car to be looking at. And there's a lot of spins then. So one person makes... Oh, dear, it gets tagged then as someone rejoins. And yeah, it's very, very messy then from the rear 10, let's say. Unfortunately, there for Valle. So Valle starts at the back. Will have gained a couple of positions, but ultimately is now very much struggling to get back up. As we end up on the end of lap number 1 then, Murphy, Wolf and Bagnall. Bagnall's gone then from, where was he, P14? He's up to P4 at the start of this race here. Great start from him. And then he is now trying to battle into that top 3. Tinker van der Velde has taken full advantage here. He is off into the distance then, as everybody else then plays around with each other, having contact, losing time on exits of corners. Not ideal. Luke Whitehead then currently in P5 as well. But it's filtered in. It's sort of going into a bit of a slow burner now, after the first race being absolutely hectic. But I'm sure indeed it will close up and we'll see some moves being made.
There's a couple of incidents up and down the field here, but broadly speaking, drivers have settled into a bit of a rhythm. We have Tinko van der Velde currently leading by 1.1 seconds from Eamon Murphy, and we've got Wolf just 4 tenths behind him, and Sam Bagnall another 6 tenths further down the road. So plenty of opportunity here for the drivers to get a look-see in, and Sam Bagnall in particular will be very eager to try and snatch one of those podium spots.
Yeah, he'll just have to keep himself in a decent range here. Don't try and push it. You've got 17 minutes to go here, which is plenty of time. Again, these drivers are ultimately used to a little bit of a longer format within this game. It's an endurance game. It's as simple as that. But he'll be hoping that the 2 in front of him do the hard work for him. So he's just going to take the circuit the best possible way he can, try and keep his tyres in a decent range. Again, tyre drop-off isn't huge on this game, considering it's a 20-minute timed race, but it's still nice to have a little bit more than your opponent later on in the race. So he'll be hoping that Wolf then closes into Murphy. How clever's Wolf going to be in this scenario here? Is he going to go and try and take P2 here because he's under pressure from behind? Or is he just going to sit behind Murphy here and go, do you know what? I don't think you can overtake me, Bagnall, here. I'm going to just stick. I'm going to get P3. But then again, Wolf's already qualified, so he's really got nothing to lose.
Exactly right. You have to feel for Bagnall in this position, but to be fair, he's staying calm.
But
he's got the fastest lap.
He qualifies if he finishes 4th, remember.
But he would love to be able to put the car of Wolf behind him so that he has buffer from the next car that's taking a look at him up the road. Whitehead, at the end of the day, only 6 tenths behind, so it's always going to be a threat.
Yeah, that's a good point. And also, will he know? Will he know that the car in front's qualified? That's the big factor here.
Yes.
Because there's a big blue tick next to their names on the website if you've qualified. Whether or not he's looked at that or not, I don't know. I would imagine he would have done. These drivers tend to be pretty meticulous with their preparation. We just saw there Luke Whitehead running off circuit, exit stage left. He recovered pretty well, grabbed a load of curb, but that's not going to do his closing up to the back of Bagnall any good, that's for sure. Looks like Rodriguez then right down the order, then struggling here. But as we look behind, Jacob Boom is currently in 6th position. Victor Nicolai then is in 7th. Matteo Blotto in 8th position. Niels van der Kukel in 9th position. Darren McCormack making his way back through 10th position as it stands, still ahead of Chris McDade. Then we've got Marco in P12, Johnny Knight, Tariq Adam and Sam Well in P15 as it stands. Menos Gerardis, Leslie Oliphant, Daniel Valla, who looks like he might be out here actually, Mano Rodriguez as well, Sebastian Apostol and Brandon Abraham, who we just saw in a VT. He is out of this race, unfortunately. Luke Whitehead trying to stick with the group in front here and very much struggling, but look at Bagnall. Bagnall then took a couple of laps to chill out, put himself in a decent position, and now he's closing in on that top 3.
He is right on the back of Wolf now, waiting for a mistake, waiting for an opportunity to strike. Now, Wolf doesn't make mistakes that often. These minor ones, and you can absolutely take advantage of, but Bagnall wants to be close enough in case that does end up happening. And this could actually give the cars out in front just a little bit more breathing room as well. I would imagine that while these guys are fighting behind them, we're going to be laughing all the way to the bank in pole position, not having to worry about 2nd and 3rd place catching up.
Yeah, Bagnall just making a bit of a mistake there through the Jukeski sweep. It's probably the toughest, most technical part of the circuit overall. And again, you've got to try and get a really good exit through Barbecue, running down that long straight in towards Sunset. It's all flat out all the way down to Clubhouse, which is turn 7, which we've just gone through there. So if you make a mistake before turn 5, you lose a hell of a lot of time, which you can see visibly on your screen. This is giving Wolf now a chance here just to have a bit of breathing room. But again, the only driver out of all of these really with nothing to lose here is Wolf. So I've got a funny suspicion here. If he gets the opportunity, he is going to mix it for sure.
Oh, I would love to see some side-by-side racing going into the second half of this race. We have to start thinking about tyre degradation as well. The drivers, they've been fairly comfortable so far, but I would imagine that different drivers will be dealing with tyre deg slightly differently. And we're going to start to see some cars squirreling around. Is there anyone in this field, maybe, Luke, that you think is particularly adept at dealing with those kind of racing conditions as the lap times potentially get slower?
I would say in terms of experience, Murphy. I think Tinko's one. Tinko van der Velde, who's leading this race, is the one to watch out for in terms of potentially making mistakes because he's very young in the esports space. One of the stars that are coming through right now. He's just winning races left, right, and centre. It's just his outright pace is what is frightening from him. His consistency is the only thing that's letting him down, but as you get older, as you indeed go through and get more experience, that's where your consistency gets a little bit better. So yeah, if there's anyone to really watch out for in terms of dropping off, it would probably be the race leader. Murphy, he could have Wolf behind him for 4 hours, and he probably wouldn't blink and make a mistake, because he's old. You know, he's really old. Murphy's super old. So yeah, he will be fine with that amount of pressure, realistically. But yeah, it looks like Tinko is just dealing with it the best way he can. Just do qualifying laps for 20 minutes. You're leading the race. You're good to go. As you can see here, the gap between Wolf and Bagnall is about half a second, and I think Wolf's being held up here. But as you can see, just in behind, Bagnall is not only catching up to this group of cars, they've got Whitehead in behind them as well, who's closing up. And then there's another group in behind as well. So they've got Jacob Boom, Victor, Nikolai. Those are maybe starting to close in ever so slightly. And if these all start to potentially fight here, which there is some big opportunities to indeed dive up the inside, that is when they're going to be, well, susceptible to a potential move from a group behind.
Luke in particular actually doing quite a good job of coming back. Remember, we saw a couple of minor mistakes, shall we say, coming in from Luke Whitehead earlier on in the race, and he's now caught up all the way to the tail end of Bagnall, so he will be looking to join this fight as well. It looks like, as soon as I say that, commentator's curse goes for a little bit of an off. It looks like he's lost a couple of tenths, but manages to maintain his position, and thankfully we were in the braking zone going towards the start-finish straight, so not too much time lost here. He maybe he's struggling to settle into a rhythm, but it's quite clear he's got the outright pace to catch up to this group in front.
Yeah, you're spot on, John. Seems like his raw pace is absolutely nailed on, but it's then trying to produce the same lap time after time, which is a bit of the issue here. You only get 3 warnings before a drive-through penalty as well, and a drive-through penalty in an endurance race is kind of killing your race. If you get one in a 20-minute race, you just as well say sayonara, you know? You're done ski.
Yep.
But he's still in there, chipping a jet. That's all you need. Looks like Tinko may be starting to be caught here as well. So Murphy potentially dragging Wolf along. He's got a big enough gap, though, to work with. 1.3 seconds, yeah, it's a big enough gap to work with. Again, just coming up towards the halfway point of this race. Tinko then used to this week being the chaser. So for him to be out in the lead here is a very comfortable situation for him to be in. Murphy still second, Wolf in third. Bagnall, fastest lap of the race then. So here we go, he's on the charge. A 140.3, which is under the fastest time in terms of Jordan Sherratt, who qualified for this event as the first seed. Yeah, so he is just a little bit off of that pace, so about 0.06 of a second. Absolutely nothing, and they've got at least 20 minutes of fuel in the car.
Absolutely incredible stuff. And remember, what's even more bizarre is that that's the fastest lap of the race, but he's probably only half a tenth faster than everyone around him as well. That's how tight this field is at the moment. You can see there, actually, we've got Sam Bagnall, fastest lap. Eamon Murphy also in the 140.3s, which is 1/10 faster than Tinko.
Little mistake
so,
there.
Very much keeping that gap alive.
A little mistake there from Murphy. He missed the apex then into the final corner, as we do indeed hear Panky tell us it's the halfway point of the race. And if you're wondering why I'm talking about Panky, he's an artist in the game for the cars, and actually he's the voiceover in the game as well. So yeah, it's when he races in your own racing leagues and then you have to hear him every race as well. Yeah, it's a little bit annoying. Shout out to Panky. But Eamon Murphy just made a little bit of a mistake. Wolf not quite close enough though to take full advantage, and this is again perfect for Sam Bagnall, a chance for him to just close up. Again, I think he just wants to guarantee a top 3, so if he gets an opportunity, he is making a move for sure. I think Murphy would like to see Bagnall get involved here as well. But as it stands, the front 4 are looking relatively good. I think the gap's come down a little bit to the leader, Tinko van der Velde, then to Murphy. I think it might now be around about the full second mark, maybe a couple of tenths less than what it was previously, as it will change over on the left-hand side. Oh, and there we go. We've got the ACC pop. I don't know if you just got that, John, as well, but that happens from time to time.
Yeah, just a bit.
So yeah, it's a mistake there from Wolf actually, as he runs very deep here. Bagnall's going to be loving the sight of that, so Bagnall really is starting to pile that pressure on. And again, Wolf, one of the fastest drivers around, but we know that he is indeed prone to a mistake or two as well when he's put under pressure, which is the same as every racing driver, but we've just seen Wolf at the front end so often that when he makes a mistake, it's kind of a big talking point most of the time. So Murphy then P2. Maybe just in the final sector here, just dropped off on the middle sector, shall I say, dropped off of Tinko. Bagnall then looking for that opportunity to make... Oh, no, Bagnall. Don't know what's happened to Bagnall there, but I think he might have just... Well, he's still in the race here in P4, but I think he just had a bit of a netcode issue there. So he disconnected and he flew off in towards the barrier. But ultimately, it's all worked itself out nicely. That's the beauty of internet racing, ladies and gentlemen. Things like that can happen. Normally, when there's a netcode issue with this game specifically, they start flying off into the air, which is quite funny. But yeah, Bagnall's in the race. He's fine. He's fourth.
All good. He rubber bands himself back onto the track. Lovely to see such close racing, although I have to say, considering how close these cars have been for how much of the race, very little by the way of side-by-side action. And you can tell that compared to the stock cars, compared to the open wheel, these guys aren't willing to go side-by-side and go offline until you're supremely confident about the move, until you're absolutely sure you're going to nail it. They want to make that one move stick. And the style of racing here, you can see, is measurably different to the two other disciplines of racing we've already covered tonight.
Yeah, but the front four, they kind of all know their position. They can't. If Bagnall knows that it's top four to go through because Wolf's in the top three, then he isn't going to push. The one we've been missing out on really is Darren McCormack. He's been flying up through the order. He qualified pole, went down to P12, and now he's at P9. So he has been making overtakes in the mid-pack. So if we look a bit further back in the order, there are overtakes happening for sure. Again, Niels van der Koekel and Victor Nicolai, those two were at it at one point, but actually it's now a 4-second gap now between them, Nicolai and Jacob Boom. Here's McCormack then. He is setting up Niels van der Koekel and move potentially up the inside here. I'm not sure if it's quite going to work out into the hairpin. And again, nearly makes the move stick there through the crocodiles. Down in towards Cheetah, through Cheetah, and into the final corner then we come. And again, makes a bit of a mistake there with the dirty air, and we'll lose a little bit of momentum. But yeah, Van der Koekel under a lot of pressure here from Darren McCormack. And regardless of whether McCormack indeed is going to get top three, he pretty much isn't at this stage. With only 6 minutes to go. He's putting on a hell of a show, which is fantastic. As we see McDade then trying to make a move here on Blotto. Blotto goes late on the brakes then as we see them go side by side. The pink car then on the right-hand side is indeed Blotto. McDade, as they come through the S's at the start here, the Jukesy sweep. It looks like McDade's just about going to get him. He does. McDade in the background then does make the overtake as we go back on board with the leader. But yeah, Darren McCormack again, just trying to get as many points as possible. Didn't race in week one. So ultimately needs to try and get as many points if he's going to try and qualify the route of points across them 5 months.
Really lovely racing coming out of there from McCormack. Unfortunate, of course, how the race started for him, but lovely to see him fighting through the pack. We caught a glimpse of just the tiniest bit of running wide before we move back for the race leader. With 5.5 minutes left to go, Tinko van der Velde has now managed to gap the car behind him only slightly. He was 1.1 seconds ahead at the 10-minute mark. It's now 1.4, so it really goes to show it's absolutely tiny margins in this race. The smallest mistake that gives away a couple of tenths is time that you've spent 3 or 4 laps building up. It is huge in the amount of time to your competitor, because at the end of the day, everyone is lapping so closely to each other's times.
Yeah, for sure. Could not agree with you more there. It's just been a bit of a stalemate here. I'm a little bit disappointed in that, but ultimately you can understand why that's happened. But still, I'd like to see these all really going at it. But yeah, passage through, top 3. Make sure you're through to the semi-finals. Save the fireworks for the semi-finals. Although, I can guarantee you fireworks at the end of this race. That is just the nature of ACC. When someone crosses the line and wins the race, fireworks come out from everywhere. It is a glorious sight to be seen, and we will see it in about 4.5 minutes.
Just a little while left to go to hang on for these drivers that are currently in the positions that would get them a ticket to the semi-final. Veloce Wolf, who makes a little bit of a mistake there, puts 2 wheels on the grass, but is able to continue in position. Already qualified for the semi-finals, remember. So Tinko van der Velde, Eamon Murphy, and Sam Bagnall look to be the 3 drivers that will automatically go through. And as a result, Luke Whitehead is going to want to be pushing as quickly as possible to try and close this gap, although he is a 1/10.5 slower at the moment than Bagnall, so not quite closing the gap at this time.
Do you think he's lost a bet or has he legally changed his name to Veloce Wolf? Everyone else has gone for their real name, apart from, well, maybe it is, like I said, maybe he's changed his name officially. I don't know.
It should be deed poll. We should mandate this and make him commit.
I'll go on a mandate with you. Oh,
right,
sorry,
deal.
Mandate the name. My bad. Sorry, I thought you were offering me out on a date, John. Sorry.
I mean, that too. Sunday evening, I'm free. Let's go.
Yeah, okay. I'll go on holiday Sunday morning. Don't want to throw it out there to everybody, but I'm going on holiday. Sorry, John.
Never mind.
Maybe in a week's time.
You're back. Yeah, exactly. I'll be in Iceland in a week's time.
Oh, okay, I'll go to Iceland as well because I've got to buy some frozen products. Hey, top
Brilliant.
3. Veloce Wolf then in behind Eamon Murphy. Still Tinker van der Velde in the lead though. I think van der Velde just going to chill there now. If he's got anything to worry about. A couple of laps to go in this race. 3 minutes left on the clock. Van der Velde in a very good position indeed. First time of asking. Didn't try and qualify for month 1. And again, I said this acted as a bit of an advertisement for month number 1 going into month number 2. And well, maybe you're sat there right now thinking, I am so much better than them on track. Hopefully you're not so much better at commentary. That job is not available, by the way, guys. That is mine and John's. So there's just the racing. Maybe you're like, I could easily qualify for I want to go to Vegas. Yeah, I want to be best friends with Lando Norris. Yeah, well, go to Logitech G challenge.com and go get signed up. It's free. It is free. And you've got 3 more months to qualify. There's some wild card opportunities. There are loads of prizes to be won. You can go through by just doing well in races, by scoring points. It's just the opportunities are endless. And maybe you are the next Isaac Gillison. Who knows?
That's a wild ride we've just taken everyone on. Do you want to eventually be on a super yacht in Monaco Harbour, complaining about how the young guns didn't have it as good as we used to 20 years ago?
Yeah,
well,
do
maybe
you
that
want to
journey
be
starts
flexing
here.
By tagging Lando Norris as your best friend on Instagram when you're in the summer break with him?
That journey begins at logitechgchallenge.com.
Fact.
There you go.
Okay, sorry, just hearing from the lawyers. You don't officially become best... Oh, okay. So you don't officially become best friends with Lando Norris. My bad. So you just meet him and get some coaching, which is still pretty cool.
I thought that's in the contract.
Oh, yeah. You know that commentary job I said wasn't available? I feel like it might be now, John.
Oh dear.
Final lap we come then. Tinker van der Velde still leading here. 1.4 seconds ahead. He's done pretty well. He's just indeed weathered the storm as it stands. Eamon Murphy, again, this could be the case for the next 4 hours. I think he's just going to hold on to P2 as the wily old fox he is. Then we've got Wolf in P3 again, already qualified, so I feel like Bagnall will be the one that goes through from that. And remember, Bagnall was P14 on the grid, John. So P14 on the grid, took advantage of a few people having, as we would say, shenanigans, and ultimately it's just stuck around, showed he's got some serious pace. The fact that the scary thing for me is he is so new to PC, and he's so new to racing against these drivers. By the time we get to the semi-finals, he could be one of the very top drivers in the world.
I mean, he hasn't really had any experience racing these drivers yet. They haven't had a chance to race him this race, let's be honest. Still half a second up. The gap has closed a little bit, but it's almost like Van der Velde is just making sure he doesn't make a big mistake on the final lap. And I have to say, this has been a very calm, controlled race from start to finish. And to be able to do this by porting over from another platform, absolutely incredible performance.
Yep, absolutely. Cannot agree with you more there. For me, I don't know, I could say Florian from the open wheel is probably driver of the day just because he used his brain, his like 1000 IQ brain to let someone go by to make his passage through to the final safer. But yeah, in terms of newcomers, Sam Bagnall has definitely shone here. But Tinker van der Velde, talking to newcomers, he's come here and he's qualified very well. Wasn't quite pole position, but indeed was at the sharp end. And he's going to take the victory here. Got into the lead of the race and not look back. Eamon Murphy is going to pick up P2. Wolf is going to take P3. Already qualified, remember. And then it will indeed be Sam Bagnall that takes P4. Whitehead, P5. Boom then will indeed take P6 in the end. He actually gained a position on the last couple of laps. And yeah, I was expecting there to be some fireworks in this race, John. I was expecting it to be a bit more frantic. But ultimately, you can understand that it's just about getting into that top 3. And really, you don't want to be jeopardizing that. I think as the championship goes on and as people get a little bit more desperate to get into that top 3, as there's not so many opportunities to qualify, it might become a little bit more frantic. But here at Kyle Army, for the first race of 4 that we're going to see this weekend, yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Really, really good stuff there from Tinker van der Velde. Really calm, really collected. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Yes, that gap came down a little bit at the end, but to be honest, it's because he didn't mind that gap being reduced. Absolutely phenomenal drive. And like you say, Luke, even for the drivers that don't make the top 3 now, that's okay. Collecting those vital points mean that even if you don't make a top 3 finish in all 5 months of the monthly round races, you can still book yourself into the semi-final on points alone. In fact, the rest of the grid will be filled out by the top point scorers. So some very, very good points for most of our drivers scored today.
I just completely knocked my camera off of sync here, so I'm like, need to try and get to the middle of the screen again here. I just moved my microphone and it was lent on the microphone, so I'm just trying to Hi, let's just get into camera here. Yeah, look, it's a good race. It's the first one. Oh, don't worry, this will be sorted for the next broadcast, guys, I promise. But yeah, it was a really, really good start off for EMEA. I feel like it's kind of kicked things off nicely for the rest of the weekend, and that is something that we probably should discuss, John. This is the first region of 4 coming up. We have got some action this weekend. It's going to be tiring for me and you. It's going to be tiring for all of the team behind us as well, but ultimately it's going to be a cracking set of shows to watch.
We've got 4 different regions, of course, and 3 races in each region. You're watching EMEA now. We've got APAC later tonight, and then tomorrow we've got North America and LATAM. It simply doesn't stop, and we're doing this every month for 5 months to figure out who is going to make it through to the semifinals, and ultimately who will make it through to the grand finals in Las Vegas next January. Absolutely fantastic stuff. 4-day, 3 night. I almost said 4-night, 3-day, which would have been a bit awkward, but it's a 4-day, 3-night trip to Las Vegas, and the prizes you could potentially win in Las Vegas, as well as the trip itself, of course, which is going to be a great experience for whoever gets there, will just be unbelievable. Money can't buy stuff. You can't exactly buy coaching from Lando Norris. You certainly can't buy being his best friend on Instagram. We're still having a chat to the lawyers about that one, but the VIP at the British Grand Prix 2022, so much on the line. This is the world's largest sim racing competition for a reason, and it's really nice to see so many new people come through and do so well as well, Luke.
Yeah, for sure. And that is been, I've been involved with the G Challenge now for many years, and to see new names be announced and to see them then fulfill their potential and then potentially go out to the top and win championships like this is, again, it's amazing to win the Logitech McLaren G Challenge, but it also puts your name out there. You can get yourself involved with a huge team off the back of this, which we've seen from drivers such as Wolf, from Isaac Gillison, and from Brandon Abraham. But we do indeed have the final standings for the race here, John. Take us through it.
Let's have a look at our final results in this race powered by Splunk. This is Kyalami. Tinko van der Velde will take home the victory here, and Eamon Murphy and Sam Bagnall, because Veloce's Wolf has already qualified, will be able to get those 3 guaranteed places through to the semi-final. Behind them, though, and earning valuable points, we have Luke Whitehead, Jakob, Victor Nikolai, Niels van der Kerkelt, Chris McDade, and McCormack will round out the top 10. I'm still not used to seeing symbols replace accents and stuff like that on the screen. Pardon me there. But even down to 10th place, 20 points on offer there. And over the course of 5 monthly races, actually, Luke, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it is pretty good. That's what you've got to be looking at, Just be consistent. If you can't get top 3, be consistent, get some points, and move on into the competition. As we look at then the point scorers from 11th down to 20th, Matteo Blotto, Johnny Knight, Tariq Adam. We've then got Marco Macro, Manos Gerardis. We've got Leslie Oliphant, Samuel Spotto, Daniel Valle, who unfortunately... Oh, no, he did finish. I played with him, actually. Sebastian Aspostol, and then we do have a DNF for Manuel Rodriguez.
Unfortunate stuff then of Brandon Abraham, of course, getting sadly caught up in the lap 1 drama there. High hopes for him, but to be fair, high hopes for him throughout the course of the entire Logitech McLaren G Challenge as well. Let's take a look at some of the highlights now from that last race. The start of the race looked like it was about to produce a ridiculous amount of fireworks. There were a few, Luke, but all in all, things were reasonably well prepared at the front of the field. This is about as bad as it got at the rear.
Yep, reasonably well behaved at the front, and then the complete opposite at the back. It was a something show, to say. Yeah, I can't really say on camera what it really was. Darren McCormack, though, for me, was the star of the show in terms of the amount of overtakes he made. He's very unfortunate in getting involved in the instance early. He'll be back for sure. I wouldn't worry about it too much. But Van der Velde, P2 on the grid, gets off the line beautifully well with great reactions. You'd expect it from such a young man, and picks up the dub.
Very, very nicely done there. Now, don't forget, guys, that was the last of the 3 races in the EMEA region. These are the final standings in the stock car race. Congratulations to Nicolo Sidrati, Matteo Bortolotti, and Flo Martin, who are the top 3 in the stock car race, but plenty of points distributed up and down the board. Terry Depois also doing a phenomenal job in 4th place there. Really, really good stuff. And then, of course, after the stock car, we had the open wheel before coming through to the sports car as well. Let's take a look at who managed to come through on that. Oh, bear with me just a moment. We'll be getting those to you in just a sec. We're going to update one of those. Let's go back to the stock car race just for a second, Luke. A lot of action, to be fair, in the midpoint of that race. but cars not necessarily working together so much. It was very much a dogfight to the finish for pretty much everyone in the top 6.
Yeah, for a well-known IndyCar circuit, Indianapolis, of course, owned by Roger Penske. Penske are in NASCAR as well, but it's very much, it starts 3 wide, and then when you get into the race, it's just single file. Pretty much it's as simple as that. It's not really wide enough to be going too wide through the corners, especially. If you do, you both lose a shed load of time. So yeah, it was just about making sure that you got to the finish line as quickly as you possibly can, which is what you expect from racing car drivers, more than likely. But yeah, very different to what we saw last time out at Charlotte Motor Speedway. And as we move forward in this competition, we are going to see some really different types of circuits.
It'll be interesting to see how the North American races as well necessarily treat Indy differently to what we've seen in EMEA today. But we will worry about that tomorrow when North America are here. Let's take a look now at the open wheel results from earlier this evening. Martin van Loosenord, absolutely phenomenal race there. Cannot possibly fault it. But Sam Keitel and Florian Denard will make up the podium. Kevin van der Slick just outside that top 3, but with 32 valuable points to take home as well, Luke.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was all about getting those top 3. For me, Florian Denard, move of the day. He let Sam Keitel go through. He was calculated. He probably felt like he had more pace than anyone behind him. He just wanted to guarantee that top 3 and move forward. But yeah, you're talking about points. Kevin van der Slick missed out on month 1, but he has indeed got P4 here. The most points you can get outside of the qualifying positions. But I think you'll find if he comes back next month, he will be more than likely going to be able to get into that top 3 for sure.
And then, of course, we have just finished seeing the sports car race, which was extremely tight. Every single driver qualifying in the 1-minute 40s. That was actually the closest qualifying session in any racing discipline I think I've ever seen. That was really insane. Certainly on sim racing. It was really phenomenal. And broadly speaking, really, really cool race as well. In fact, Luke, we've had 3 fantastic races from EMEA this evening.
Yeah, we have. EMEA have tended to be like the strongest region in the McLaren G Challenge. It always has been the case. We're seeing a swing for sure. We're seeing all of the regions step up. I'm not saying that EMEA's got any worse. It's got exponentially better, but so has every other region. And that's because they've been given an opportunity. I'm looking forward to the rest of the shows, John. I really am.
So you don't have to wait very long for the rest of the shows. In fact, in a couple of hours, in just under 4.5 hours, we're going to be going through the next show. APAC is going to be on next at 10 o'clock in the morning, Japan Standard Time tomorrow morning, or 2 o'clock in the morning for us lot, but we'll be here for you, don't worry. Make sure to come back and check us out then. For more information on how you can compete yourself on any of these racing disciplines, go to logitechgchallenge.com. A massive thank you once again to Splunk, Logitech G Quantum Pay, and McLaren for helping us put all of this on. We have now completed EMEA. We still got APAC later tonight, and then North America and LATAM are tomorrow. Thank you very much for watching. We will see you for APAC in a couple of hours. Take care.